across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think there's any point in mucking about. This is The Late Show with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Chloe Dobbs. And on the day when the government finally admitted that the rights of illegal migrants are more important than the rights of women, we're going to have a special show where we discuss this. You can phone us in 0344 499 1000. Just to remind you, by the way, in the green room, Asher Gould almost harmed me for saying this. But officially, legally, the argument of Epping Forest was this, that a hotel had been converted into a hostel without proper planning permission. And I said, well, obviously, to be fair, that means that maybe, you know, people are allowed to live in hotels. Maybe Epping Forest Council was wrong. And Asher said...
I turned around to you and I said...
I watched the judgment in full and the judge said nothing at all about that. Asher, I'll tell you what, why don't we just take stock right now? We're going to look at the papers. Yeah. Why don't you tell us what is on the front page of the papers?
Well, let's start with the soar away, son, and there it is. Furious government win ruling to keep asylum hotel open. Injustice with a double N. Outraged mums blasted a judge's decision yesterday to back a government appeal to keep a controversial migrant hotel open, insisting they don't care. Sarah White... Anyway, look, I read about this and I watch a lot of these barristers online, the bold barrister, our mate Stephen Barrett, and they've all said the High Court judge was correct. The government have taken it to who are their mates? Remember the guy, Lord Bean or whatever his name is? He was part of that Matrix Chambers.
Yes.
I mean, this is so politicised. Anyway, Chloe, what do you think of all this ridiculous judicial decision?
Look, I am absolutely disgusted. And you're right, Ash, that in the ruling today, that there was basically no mention of the planning rules. What they basically said is the planning rules, yes, you did breach the planning rules, but the ECHR rules, the human rights of the asylum seekers, are more important. So with the planning rules, with a hotel, what the law says is that a hotel, you must only have people staying there on a very short-term basis, and it has to be open to anybody and everybody to book. So you cannot close off the bookings and say only asylum seekers are staying here. It's completely against the rules, but the Home Office clearly thought, you know, we're too big to fail, we're the government, we can do whatever we want. And then they ended up facing this whole court battle. And then they've basically said in the court today, the human rights matter more. They're more important.
And they also
haven't
might incite
the planning laws actually say it's okay to do this. So they breached planning laws, but they're saying that's absolutely fine. So meanwhile, you've got the council knocking around people's houses saying, oh, you've put a shed up in your garden or something.
Sure. Let me just give you some bullet points on this. The Court of Appeal has overturned the High Court's ruling on the temporary injunction stopping them moving further illegal migrants to the hotel.
To appeal, the right to appeal. So it's not over.
So he said the judge criticised the original judge, saying that he had failed to balance the public interest with local and national concerns. Do you know what that means? That means that Epping Forest were wrong to give a toss about the people of Epping Forest. What they should have done was recognise that the needs of illegal migrants came before their residents.
But that's irrelevant, Andre. The High Court judge was right. That's got nothing to do with the points of law that case was based on. That's just... And he also said in his summing up, it could incite, you know, violence, future riots and protests.
That's right.
But that's got nothing to do with the points of law of a court case.
He's also completely off the mark, because he is saying, A, we shouldn't allow the Epping Forest District Council to close down the hotel, because that will suggest to protesters that they can get their way if they go on protest. It will encourage more people to protest.
That is what he said.
But what he's suggesting
point of law is
that
ridiculous.
I know. This ruling today, he thinks that will stop protests. He says we can't have this hotel closed because else it will egg other people on to go protest in other places. But there are going to be way more protests now about this ruling.
Chloe, this comes to that actual procedure and court cases.
I know.
This reminds me of what was said the other day about Nigel Farage's policy on sending back illegal migrants, where all of the judges and all of the barristers that I saw basically agreed, don't worry, our mates in the judiciary will rule against it, even if Parliament passes this law. And I say to you that we are getting very close to a coup d'etat in this country. And I'll tell you why I say that. Because these judges, as Asher has quite rightly pointed out, do not have a leg to stand on. It is not the law of the land that planning policy gets incinerated because the Home Secretary wants to house people illegally in the UK. That is not the case. What is the case is that we now know that courts will rule in favour of their mates, even if that means completely throwing the law out the window.
I mean, you don't need to be a legal expert to look at what Lord Justice Bean said today and to be able to clear as day see this is a complete and utter farce, and he clearly is just helping his mates out. The High Court judge, he thought about it very carefully. He wrote a very long, detailed explanation of his ruling. He really thought about it carefully. This guy comes along and just says, oh, human rights are more important than the planning regulations.
And insults that High Court judge who was correct.
It's completely insulting to that guy.
So can I ask you this question, Chloe?
Very, very well.
Can I ask you this?
Carefully about the case.
Can I ask you this question, Chloe? So I've got friends of mine who would very much like to extend their house in order to have better family life. Now, under the Human Rights Act, you have a right to family life. Would I be able to say at my dad's house in Manchester, well, you know what, we need an extra 4 bedrooms to bring other members of the family here, so we're just going to build this in the middle of a tree protection zone without planning permission, but our rights under the Human Rights Act to have our family around us.
No, but it doesn't say you should
planning.
have a better family life.
Well, the thing that, you know, similar
Just a
point to you,
family life.
the thing that I've been saying
No extension
is,
needed for a family life.
if I said, I want to help a homeless veteran by building an extension on my house,
they would say no.
so that he can live in there, because I care about his human rights and his right to have a roof over his head, the council would come down and they'd say, you knock that straight down. You don't have planning permission for that. I mean, when it comes to planning rules, I mean, they are so strict and they will make you put in the longest applications.
Yes, they will.
And knock it all down for a few inches out.
If you just want to put, I don't know, a plant pot in front of your house, they'll all come at you. But then you can have the government just house hundreds and hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of migrants across the country in hotels and people's communities, and they say planning rules, they don't apply to us.
But what about other rules we might seek to ignore? So as an example, I've talked about what I believe is ethnic cleansing, which is serving Section 21 notices on tenants, i.e. no-fault evictions, in order to move people from small boats into accommodation. You know what? What is the prohibition now of the Home Secretary sending in security to kick the doors in of tenants and just drag them out into the street? Because what the court would say, one would assume, is, look, beating people up and dragging them out of their homes is a breach of their legal rights. But the national interest is that we have to house asylum seekers, and the people prosecuting the Home Secretary for this have failed to notice the wider significance.
Exactly. Well, I mean, the Home Office lawyers, they made the point in court, we need to be able to house the asylum seekers here, not just because of their human rights, but because the Home Secretary has a statutory duty to house these people. So if it's the case that the boats keep on coming in, and I'm sure they will. I mean, we've had over 50,000 people arrive since Labour come in, and Labour say, oh, we haven't got an accommodation, but we have a statutory duty to house these people, then yes, we'll come bash your door down and we'll kick us out your house. I think it's quite ironic, given you've got a government that's got Angela Rayner in. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about her later, but she's had this whole, you know, renters' rights bill and everything, and we're going to make sure that people don't get kicked out unfairly. Meanwhile, when it comes to housing asylum seekers, that seems to all go out the window, and they'll happily kick out a single mum and her kids who are struggling to pay the rent and are going to struggle to find somewhere else.
Am I allowed?
Because Serco come along and say, here you go, 5 years guaranteed rent above the market rate. We'll do all the repairs and everything.
Let me ask this question, which is a quasi-legal question. Imagine now I owned a warehouse, say as an example. If I decided that I wanted to convert that warehouse into flats, that would be completely illegal under planning regulations because it's an industrial site. But if I said, look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this, I've got this big warehouse which is basically worthless. What I'm going to do is I'm going to knock it down and build a 20-storey tower, but it is for the purpose of housing illegal immigrants. One would assume...
Oh, you'll get it then
One would assume that if the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead decide that I can't build a 20-storey tower because it is for illegal migrants, that will be legal. Now, we've also found...
And the government might overturn the council in that way.
We've also found...
Good idea, let's do it.
Lest we forget when this happened last time, because I've got very good friends of mine who are in the traveller community, but the traveller community were allowed to ignore greenbelt policy. We're allowed to ignore planning policy, which is why one of my very dear friends has made £1 billion sticking up park home sites in areas that you and I would not be legally allowed to put them up. So it has happened before.
Yeah, it's crazy. That sets a bad precedent, and then very clearly this ruling today sets a crazy precedent. As you say, does this mean now that anyone can get any bit of land they've got, any building that they've got, and just say, I'm going to house illegal migrants here, and it doesn't matter how much of an impact it has on the local community, how inappropriate it is, that the Home Office can come along and say, sorry, ECHR, human rights are more important, you don't have a voice. And it really angers me, and it angers people across this country, because the way that a government has legitimacy is that their power is legitimate on the basis that they are representing us, they are representing our communities and the people that vote for them. But now it's completely the other way around. They are going against the people that vote for them, that are crying out so that they can help some people who came here on a boat who don't have a right to vote here.
There is
painful.
There is now. So there's a number of issues here. First of all, our friend Alex Langsam from the Britannia Hotel Group, who lives in a 10-bedroom house himself. He can now build extensions to any Britannia hotel he wants without planning permission. That has got to be the assumption. But let me say something else to you about the constitutional changes of Tony Blair. In the past, Parliament was supreme, and what would happen is if government broke the law, you could judicially review it to the law lords. Members of the House of Lords with special legal qualifications who would rule on it. Now what has happened in our new society, with our new empowered courts, the courts now are allowed to ignore the law completely and say, our friends happen to like it like this, ergo we will do whatever we want. This has got to be an argument for the abolition of the Supreme Court, for the removal of the Human Rights Act, and for a return of the British Constitution, so vilely bastardised as it was by Tony Blair.
Yeah, I think there have clearly
been a coup d'etat, hasn't there? Silent coup d'etat.
There have clearly been some problems with the changes that Tony Blair has made. Exactly how you go about fixing those,
abolish the Supreme Court.
I don't know exactly the answer.
Abolish the Supreme Court.
Well, I mean, they did one good thing when it came to ruling what a woman is.
What has happened, Chloe, is very simply this. As was predicted, when you abolish the law lords and call it a Supreme Court, the courts start to think they're supreme. You do not have the right, as a judge, or you didn't have the right, to ignore the law and boot it out the window. That Mr. Bean, what he has done is booted the law out the window and said, my own opinions, based on my mates in North London, based on my sense of fairness, based on my Inns of Court belief that there is such a thing as international law. That supersedes the law of the land. I am above the law. I am your God, and you will obey me.
Well, I mean, the point of doing things like moving the Supreme Court out of the laws is to try and enforce the separation of powers, but it clearly hasn't gone that way when you've got a guy who has been not just a Labour Party member, but a very active one, the chair of the Fabian Society, ruling on this case.
And
very clearly being biased.
With Dickie Harmer.
Yeah.
Do you know what we should do? We should prescribe Matrix Chambers as a terrorist organisation.
That's a very good idea.
That's the way you fix it, Chloe, is you go back, you like Windows reset, you go back to, bring in a law, you say we're going back to 1997 laws, anything after that's scrapped, and now we'll put in the laws that we need to put
Wouldn't
in.
it be great if for this country there was just an on-off button? You could just press restart.
Parliament could effectively do that.
Like you do when your computer stops working.
They could effectively rule that, couldn't they, in an act in Parliament?
I'll tell you what David Starkey has said. David Starkey says that if there was a bill, a great repeal bill, to do exactly what Asher said, he believes the Supreme Court would strike it down as unconstitutional. Now remember, the Supreme Court does not have the power to strike down anything as unconstitutional, yet it will do it anyway. And he has told Farage that if that came to that, Farage would have to send in the army to shut down the Supreme Court.
And that's interesting, isn't it? Because it's nearly 100 years since the 1832 Great Reform Act, isn't it? You know, the Chartists and all that, and now it's, you know, history repeating itself.
I'm really worried that Reform are going to struggle to do what they say they're going to do when they come into power. I'm a bit worried that they're promising,
we don't know what they're
promising the world too soon, and they've got far more tenacity than anybody else, and I really, really hope that they are successful. But I'm so worried about places like the Supreme Court and all of these lefty lawyers and
like what they did in Germany, they try to ban parties, don't they?
Civil servants refusing to do what they say.
There is only one way forward, and I was watching it, so I stole this idea from somebody else. What happens, I think it was Gawain Towler, I think he said this a couple of weeks ago on this very show, that when the the King kisses hands and gives Farage the premiership, immediately Farage needs to create 500 members of the House of Lords. And then what he does is he's got the House of Commons and the House of Lords, and then he just puts the Great Repeal in.
Is he able to do that?
He is absolutely allowed to do that.
Okay.
And there is no judicial, there is no...
If you're allowed to do that, why haven't the Labour Party done that and filled the whole Lords?
Because they don't
like how many Tories there are
there. Is, no, but
Dame Dobbs.
But look, there's a majority in the House of Lords for wetness. There has been for years. But look, you can abolish all 500 of them if you want to the following week, but you've got to put that Great Repeal Act in. You've got to say everything after 1997 was dreadful and it has to go. We're going to continue to go through on this day, and I'm going to use the word again, and apologies, but it is appropriate, on the day that the Constitution was butchered and bastardised in a way that has now left us in what I believe is a constitutional crisis. Mr. Bean says that he has the right to overrule the law of the land. The Epping Forest Hotel is illegal, and it will continue anyway, because the human rights of people who have illegally come to this country and allegedly molested young girls is bigger than the laws that are passed by the Parliament of the United Kingdom. More next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is a special show of the Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould with Chloe Dobbs, because we're talking about the attack on our Constitution and the final admission by the Home Secretary that the laws of this land are of no interest to the establishment in this country, and that actually Little Epping Forest, in its attempt to throw people out when they were entirely right in the case of the law, was overruled because the rights of illegal migrants are more significant than your rights, than of my rights, and than of your children's rights. So, Chloe, I understand that in the other place, they've had problems today with being bullied by the Home Office. Explain.
Yeah, so I was there last night, and we were talking about this Epping case, as it was, of course, the big story. And we just simply read out the Telegraph headline, which was along the lines of Home Office argues that rights of asylum seekers trump local communities' concerns.
Yes.
And they were on the phone. You can't say that.
So the Home Office phoned the other place.
Yes, they
and
phoned,
said you can't say that.
They immediately sent us some big long statement trying to justify themselves, but they were upset that we said Home Office argues rather than the lawyers on behalf of the Home Office.
Sorry,
I think they were
so
trying
that's
to.
them saying
they were
it.
trying
If the lawyers
to push
say it,
the
that's them
they were trying trying to just push the blame away.
I think there is an established principle that your legal representatives act for you.
Yeah,
I mean, it would be a rather odd situation.
I mean, the Home Office knows and the government knows that this is absolutely dire for their reputation. It was going to be bad for them either way, because if this hotel closed down, they would have to face the absolute chaos of hotels across the country closing down. But if they won the appeal, as they have done, people are going to be rightly furious and are going to say, which is exactly what they've done, I'm not going to apologise for it, that they have argued that the human rights of asylum seekers matter more than both planning laws and the concerns of the local community.
They said they're quite a bit loud.
And so they're
officially.
Yeah, and so now they're clutching at straws desperately. I'm sorry, but they can do what they want to send their spin doctors out and try to tell us, oh, you can't say that on air. But we're just telling the truth, and it is going to look terrible for them. And there's nothing they can do about it. I think the government. I think after this, I think the government know they're toast. They're not going to. There's no chance of them winning in 2029. They're just going to have to try and survive.
By the way, if people have made jokes about the fact that if there were 500 members of the 500 Reform Party members made members of the House of Lords, I'd be one of them. But I'll tell you the bill that I would bring in if Asher and I were put into the House of Lords. The first bill would be Lord Justice Bean (abolition bill). Right, and the law would say the following: Lord Justice Bean is hereby removed from both the House of Lords and the bar and the bench of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I think
Full stop.
I think he should be
That's
disbarred.
it. Goodbye. Do not collect 200 quid. Do not pass go.
Yeah.
Get out of it.
Don't get some big redundancy.
Just a reminder.
By the way, Lord Justice Bean (Abolition Act) might be the best law
Don't you
name
think he
ever.
looks a little bit like Mr. Bean as well?
I think he's a real disgrace. I think he is somebody. Though I'll tell you one thing that's interesting about him. He's been honest and open, hasn't he? He's admitted the truth of what they all think.
Do you think they actually believe it though? They're almost like in a funny derangement.
He believes in a world where there is a seething moronic horde, us, who are the populists, and then there are people who are fueling the populists' anger, and it's for him to ignore the law, to ignore the will of the people, and to protect the decency of Britain. That's what he believes. He believes he's a good person, whereas actually he's an evil man.
Exactly. There are people like this when you say to them the views of the people who are protesting in Epping are completely mainstream. I mean, look how well Reform is doing in the polls. Loads of people want to vote for them. They'll say, oh no, but their opinions, they're not genuine. These poor people, they've just been brainwashed by these manipulative populists like Nigel Farage and Donald Trump, who are the next Hitler and the next Mussolini. So although we in theory care about democracy, in this case this is some horrible dictator that's come along and brainwashed these people, and we need to save them by doing all this activist
in Brussels they talk about shielding democracy. That is to say, I mean, if you look, I was looking at the Welsh Assembly the other day. They've changed the system: 96 members, 16 constituencies, proportional system. You need 48, I think it is, to win. Is my maths right? Probably right. Probably yes. You need 48 to win, and the reality is nobody's going to win other than Labour and Plaid Cymru ever again. That's the end of it. You might as well not. It doesn't matter who you vote for. But
they think us plebs can't be trusted.
By the way, stay tuned. There will be a bit of the great James Whale at 11. We're playing a lot of his interviews every week, and tonight is going to be that weird bloke with the funny moustache.
Who?
Who looked like George Roper. What was his real name? You know, he believed
Charles Amos.
He believed all pensioners should have their bus passes. A real misery guts. I mean, he was right about the workhouses. We should bring those back. But
I agree with that.
Work from home house. They'll be like Premier Inns. They won't be like the old Dickensian.
Do you know why I agree? Do you know why I agree with the workhouse policy? Right,
it works.
It's got nothing to do with the workhouse, and obviously what you've got to remember is when people were sending their children down the mine, age 10, actually having them go to school for 3 years was a step above what they'd done themselves as children. Right, here is what I love about the welfare policy that was historic in England. You were looked after by the parish you were born in, right? So if you wanted to work in Spitalfields, that's fine, but if you fell on hard times, you were going back to Hertfordshire, right? If we had a system whereby each individual ward looks after the poor of their own ward and makes a decision how best to look after them, the world would be a better place.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, although I am kind of on the fence when it comes to how much power you should give to local councils, because they are typically run quite left-wing. Well, and when they haven't got the overarching picture of where country needs to go, where money needs to go across the whole country. They're all going to say all the money in the world should go to us in our little constituency. But they are much better at understanding their own local problems.
Parishes could be run by little parish councils. I guarantee you, I'll tell you what they did with the workhouses. They simply created a law saying...
Turn them into luxury flats.
The poor of your community are not allowed to starve. They have to be housed, they have to be clothed, they have to be fed. You get on with deciding how you do it. If you imagine what's happened in Epping is this. What upsets the people of Epping, what upsets the people of this country, and what upsets me, and no doubt the people in this studio, is that we pay in our taxes, we see our own people out on the street, we see our own people vulnerable, and then, somebody from Zambezi land comes in and suddenly gets to stay in a 5-star hotel, well, probably not 5-star, but a 4-star hotel on our taxpayer. Let's look after our own first. And if we pass that law, that'd be good.
And I think
that's law number 2.
I think that there absolutely is an issue with local councils where there's this very strange breakup of power where the government can say, your council, even if none of you have voted for this, we're going to force you to house a load of X number of migrants in your council because we've all got to take our fair share, apparently. And then, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that local council has to divert. It's not the money all comes from the Home Office, straight from central government. They're basically forced to spend the money, the council money, without anyone in the council voting for it, on these migrants when they could be spending the money on, as you say, helping actual homeless poor people in that council.
Of course, Chloe, this is the secret here, isn't it? Because the reason why these migrant hotels are being situated in the way that they are is when they are all granted asylum, and they all will be, because what they do is they file that many appeals that in the end it runs out of time.
And then they bring many family members, each one.
And then what happens is you have to look after them locally. I remember Westminster City Council used to virtually cry when people used to present themselves in Belgravia. They had one Somali family with 8 kids and they'd had to rent an £8 million house for them to live in. Westminster City Council under the Conservatives were
all over the place.
They used to absolutely... Now, of course, the problem with Westminster City Council is, and you won't remember this, Chloe, but Asher will, they had problems in terms of housing people because under Dame Shirley Porter they moved all the poor out. They all got asbestosis and died. But so I can understand. But this idea that you have to house them locally, these little villages in Sussex are going to end up with a mosque, with a local Muslim population, because the reason the boys are all here is because they're going to sue the government again for the right to family life. That's when mum and the kids are going to come over. So every single illegal migrant you're allowing in is 5 people.
At least. It's going to be more.
Yeah, exactly. When people talk about the crazy high numbers of people crossing the channel, they forget to take into account the number of people that we have coming across. The Home Office is letting in loads every single day. Family members are all being brought across.
But it's extent I saw from Afghanistan.
And when you've got a guy who's then bringing over his wife and his kids,
no,
you can
like
almost
25,
be sure the wife and the kids are not going to be working.
There was one that was 25 people from Afghanistan of those.
Oh, absolutely.
And they said that's quite... There's not a lot of those, but there's a lot with 18 and 17 because it's extended families as well. It's not just your wife and kid; it's the mother-in-law and the cousin, and they get.
With the whole Afghan data leak saga, and there were stories coming out. There were stories coming out about how many family members some of them had brought across. There was one story of someone bringing across 122 family members. But then if you look at what was said in court, the judge said in court that a family member doesn't have to be someone who's actually related to you by blood or in law. So you can just say that you're
the whole of Afghanistan.
You can just say, oh, my mate, he's like a brother to me.
We'll move to Afghanistan and they can move here.
It's insane. So you can just bring over all of your mates, and then the taxpayer has to pay for it.
Of course.
If they bring their wives,
but it's all going to go pop, isn't it? The economy's not going to.
The kids will need to go to our schools where the classrooms are already exploding. They're too large. We haven't got enough teachers.
But it's all going to go pop, isn't it? It's not going to.
But
it's insane that we have to house them in somewhere like central London, where, as you say, you've got
70% of central London.
But there are so many people in this country that would absolutely love to be able to afford to live in central London.
I'm sorry.
Millionaires couldn't afford.
I'm sorry to sound like an angry man. But what you have to understand is the taxpayers that pay for all this have to get on their trains from Surrey, from Hertfordshire, and get trains past all the prime central London property going to the people who've never worked a day in their life.
And we pay for their lawyers to represent them against us.
No,
Absolutely.
We're committing suicide.
It's
Cultural
completely backwards, and you are inevitably going to create so much resentment when you see that there are people who are not working at all, who are not just being treated equal to you, but are being treated way better than you.
Yes.
And I'm
With
sorry,
your
but
money
it
that they've never
doesn't
contributed.
make you some sort of bigoted racist to say this is unfair.
Can I tell you?
There are plenty of people that will happily pay taxes if they can see it's going to a good cause. The NHS is getting better. The streets being police safer. But when people see I'm working basically 6 months of the year for Rachel Reeves while sitting on this hot, sweaty train while someone's being housed in central London for free, of course they're going to be angry.
My next door neighbour said to me, I'm leaving the United Kingdom because I don't want to bring my children up in a Muslim country. Now, the reality is we are far from a Muslim country. Let's be realistic. But it has to be said, that person lives in Windsor. There is going to be a jihadi MP in Slough at the next election. There's no doubt about that. Jez Ballar is polling ahead. There's no doubt about that. And so next, we've also got the situation where all of the social housing goes to people who are from Muslim communities in Slough. Windsor will soon become a majority Muslim town in the same way that Slough's a majority Muslim town. Now, you can say that that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is simply a fact. If you want to bring your family up in a Christian community, don't move to Slough.
Isn't that ethnic cleansing? I mean,
of course it is.
Yeah.
As you say, we are a long way from being a Muslim
Although
country.
some areas are Muslim areas.
Well, this is the thing, is that although as the country, if you look at the stats for the whole country, it looks like we're nowhere near that. There are certain areas where very quickly they are becoming places that are unrecognisable. I mean, look at Birmingham. Plenty of people will say it's basically Pakistan, especially now that the bins don't get collected. It's starting to look like a third world country. Unless you
That's absolutely
unless you paint the St George's Cross on it, then maybe
They'll remove it quickly.
it will get collected. And some people will say, oh, well, don't live there then, move somewhere else. And I kind of say, well, if you've lived there all of your life and it's always been British and it's always been a nice place to live, why should you have to leave your hometown because the government have
They'd never say that about Tokyo, would they? Oh, who cares that the Japanese have all been pushed out of, you know what I mean? It's like our culture doesn't, count for anything.
Yeah, because there's this narrative that the West is evil and we should be ashamed of our culture and we shouldn't stand up for it.
I don't think we should go to Georgina yet.
Why
Asha,
not?
why don't we go to a break and then go to Georgina?
Good
because
idea.
then we've got loads and loads of calls from you, because obviously this is a day when the constitutional crisis began in a small way, but obviously Lord Justice Mr Bean has decided that the law of the land is irrelevant and the rights of migrants are more important. His ruling, not mine. We'll be back in a moment.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
I can't believe I'm going to read this out, but I'll just pretend to read it out. Okay, so get well soon to Johnny Seifert, who's currently in hospital having an operation in an unmentionable area.
Downstairs.
And that's all I'm going to say. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to
We
tell
don't know
you.
what it is.
Right.
Georgina in London.
Why did I say that? I'm easily led. That's a problem.
can't believe
That
you
is the
just said
problem. Georgina, go for it. Save me.
Good evening, Andre,
Evening.
Ash, and the lovely Chloe. Now, I'm going to say my little piece now. I want to get it all out in one because I'm old. And
The floor is yours.
I'm going to say what's going on in this country at the moment, I think, is insidious. It's as if the government is deliberately trying to incite unrest by poking the lion that is the British public. The government, Home Office and the Judiciary are using the ECHR as skirts to hide behind and as a battering ram to beat the British public into submission whilst exonerating themselves from blame, responsibility or accountability. To do this, in my mind, is both cowardly and reprehensible behaviour, and they should be heartily ashamed of themselves. The government do not have to adhere to the rulings of the ECHR, as they are merely guidelines. They are not obligatory to follow. When the well-being of economic migrants come before the well-being of the tax-paying British public, then you know that this government are not working in the best interests of the very people they were placed in government to protect. I mean, where's Yvette Cooper, Jeff Phillips or Keir Starmer? They've been completely silent on this matter. And the money being used to house these migrants comes from the taxpayer. And there's no such thing as government money. Therefore, it should be used solely for the well-being and benefit of both the country and the British people. This government has failed in their duty, and what is happening in this country at the moment is tantamount to treason in my eyes. I don't understand how
Right, she hasn't finished. It's not there.
I don't understand how governmental IQs have dropped so sharply over the years, but I do know that we have to get our country back on its feet again very soon.
No, she hasn't
we
finished.
cannot wait another 4 years.
Georgina, well done. There we go. Come on.
Very well said.
Now, Georgina, I just want to ask you a question because we've
Can you
debated.
just repeat that?
We've debated this before, Georgina. Is what you do is you hold the phone away from your face and just talk into
Are you
it?
saying she's AI?
No, I was going to say because
Are
you
you
can't,
AI,
you can't
Jane?
hear what we're saying back to you, can you?
I can hear what you're
We weren't
saying.
saying anything.
But I've got to listen very closely because I'm not the youngest sprightly thing.
Well, Georgina, I'm gonna say one thing to you. I've got a YouTube channel, Andre JP Walker, and I point out today that 1.4 million British people and millions more are now considering leaving the country. I mean, if you were 18 years old, would you be staying in this country now?
I'm a very patriotic girl and have been all my life. Do you know, I'm ready for tears at this present moment. I never thought
For what?
we
For
would,
what?
Tears.
we would lose our democracy. And I can see it slipping away before my very eyes. I've been on this earth a long time, over half a century. And what I'm seeing now is heartbreaking for every patriotic person in this country.
If you were sat now, if you were sat with Keir Starmer and there wasn't any cameras, there wasn't any microphones, there wasn't any fanfare, what would you say to Keir Starmer?
I
would
would
you
tell
do?
Keir Starmer to pull himself together and put the British people and this country first. That's what he is there for. That is what we are paying him for, and he needs to start doing his
But
job.
he knows all that, doesn't he? He knows that he's just not doing it. He's our enemy, isn't he? Just the enemy in charge.
Well, I think he's turned into public enemy number one, and I think now he is the most hated man in Britain.
Can I ask you another question? Because I think this is one thing that I always want to remind ourselves of. What about the ordinary patriotic Muslim people that came to this country that don't agree with uncontrolled immigration. I mean, we've got Tofmir from the British Bangladeshi Caterers Association who comes on this show, who is, you know, if you cut him open, he would bleed red, white and blue. What should our message be to those people that do practice their own faith, which is foreign to Britain, but don't believe in a majority Muslim country, don't believe in uncontrolled immigration, and do believe, as many Jewish people do, that Britain should remain a majority Christian country?
I do believe we should be a Christian country, but I do also believe we should embrace our Muslim brothers and sisters that hold dear everything that is beautiful and British within our country. They are our brothers and sisters, and they stand side by side with us. But the ones who want to change our country to the countries they have left must go back from whence they came, because they are no longer welcome.
She is. I will tell you one thing. Thank you so much, Georgina. I will tell you one thing. She's not going to join a local Lib Dem focus team anytime soon.
No, absolutely not. Very fiery.
But Chloe, she's expressing what a lot of people are feeling. So, OK, Georgina's more articulate than your average person. She's more forceful, more willing to phone a radio show. But when you listen to her, that is someone who is upset and fearful about the future.
Absolutely, and as you say, she speaks far more articulately than many of us, but what she has said completely sums up how almost everybody in this country is feeling. I mean, the frustration is just at a level unimaginable.
And seeing the country disappear.
Yeah, and I want to pick up on what she said about the ruling today, about the appeal today, is that she said it's as if the government are trying to incite unrest. And I'll go back to the insane point of Lord Justice Bean in his ruling today, where he suggested that making this ruling today, allowing the Home Office appeal to succeed, would reduce the number of protests, stop the number of protests, because he thinks, if we show people that
we don't care.
If you show the public that if you protest you can get a hotel shut down, that's going to encourage everybody else to do the same. But I think that you're going to have even more protests.
Well, this is ridiculous. It's not a point of law, like we were saying earlier. That's not a point of law. What things will happen in the future?
People go out and protest because they think the ballot box no longer works.
Correct.
Right? And that is clearly with this appeal, the Home Office have shown we don't care what you say at the ballot box.
Chloe, this is a message to you. I don't know specifically why it's to you, but I'm going to say something. This summarises what I think a lot of people are saying, and it's from Yvonne in Solihull. I will read it in full. Chloe, my Birmingham ancestors go back 500 years in Birmingham. They lived through a civil war. They lived through a royalist battle at Digbeth, and they survived Hitler's blitzkrieg. We are now surrounded by alien neighbours. My 28-year-old son has just gone to live in Australia. He says that he's never coming back to Birmingham. Our only child has gone. We have no future in Birmingham. Our city has fallen. And that's from Yvonne in Solihull. Now, I have to say to you, if you lived in a majority Muslim area of Birmingham, you would feel like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And people, well done to her for having the bravery to say that, because most people would be terrified to say that.
Well, she's got nothing to lose now.
Yeah, I mean,
right? What difference?
Exactly. Well, people are definitely getting the confidence to speak up more. It used to be the case that people wouldn't at all, but people are starting to see the safety in numbers and realising if we don't speak up, this country is going to absolute hell. And people will probably call her racist and Islamophobic for having some sort of concern about her city becoming a majority Muslim, or in some areas becoming a majority Muslim place. But it's completely acceptable to be frustrated that the culture in your community...
But that's how they've shut down the debate since the 60s, by saying that.
Has completely dissipated. And integration, if we are going to have people coming here from different cultures and different faiths, it needs to be gradual and done carefully. And it used to be the case, if you came to this country, because there weren't many other people from your country around, you had no choice but to learn English. You had no choice but to integrate. But now, you can come here from Pakistan and you can just go to Birmingham and go to a community, go to a street, and you won't have to speak English.
But if you remember,
won't even have to speak English. There's so many people who are here, they don't even bother to speak English.
If you remember what Lord Greenhalgh, Stephen Greenhalgh, said when he was leader of Hammersmith and Fulham, he was castigated as a racist for saying the following. The London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham used to have all the usual, if you want this document translated into Urdu, Hindi, Polish, whatever, then contact us here. Right, now, I do agree, I will say, translation into Welsh, I agree with, because it's a British heritage point, right? So I do agree with quote-unquote wasting money spending, translating stuff into Welsh, because it's a British language. So, what Stephen Greenhalgh said was he was firing all the interpreters and all the translators. And what was going to happen is if you phoned up and asked for the documents in Urdu, you instead would get free English language lessons, right? And people castigated him as a... How dare you tell people to speak English in Hammersmith? How dare you, you racist? Oh, it's garbage, isn't it?
No, it is absolute garbage. They should be thanking him for being so generous to offer free English language lessons out.
But the thing is, it's all since the Enoch Powell speech and around that time is when it started happening, and anyone who talked about immigration or anything, immediately you were castigated as a racist, and this was carried on and snowballed, and so no one was able to talk about it. In the meantime, it was all happening, and it's those people that have ended up with this problem that have caused us to end up with this.
But here's the other point to you, Asher, on this issue of Birmingham. Right, now look, I happen to be a Christian, you happen to be a Jew. I don't walk around with a copy of the Bible and you don't walk around with a skull cap. Right, but if does it not gall you that if you went back to the city that you're from, once again, your families came over in, what, 1700 or whatever it was? 1600, yeah. So, OK, does it not gall you that if you were to walk around the skull cap from the area that the city that you built, your family built,
well, no,
you
in
would
London, yeah, but I know what you mean. But it's not really about that. It's just about the actual.
But you're not welcome in your own city.
Well, there's that.
I mean, neither am I. But
the Brummie culture's gone. You know what I mean? Well, it's not gone. There's still people, but that's the essence of a culture, isn't it? And they'll go, oh, well, it's not English culture, but you know, Birmingham has its own culture. Liverpool does, you know, and so that's the thing that's gone, and people don't respect that. It's like when John Cleese said. You know, it's not like England anymore. And everyone said, you're racist. Now everyone admits that's correct. Anyway, look, we've got to take it.
I just want to give one final thought before we go to the break. On the way into work, so I have a posh car that takes me home, but obviously the trains are open on the way. Yeah,
that TV money, isn't it? Eh?
Yeah, that's right.
Splash it about.
So on the way in, I actually get the train from Slough to Paddington.
How vulgar!
And what I have to do is I have to go across the platform to go from the Great Western Railway stop to the Crossrail stop. Right. This is interesting because, for whatever reason, the Paddington Station has a very vibrant Paddington Station brass band who regularly play.
Oh, yes.
Right. For whatever reason, they've been doing it for years. And something struck me about it. I looked and I thought to myself, if you want to stand up for your culture and if you want to stand up for your heritage, it has to be your culture and it has to be your heritage. So I watched. The brass band was entirely white and everybody watching the brass band was white. Now, the number of people going through Paddington Station who are non-white is quite big, but the reason that nobody stops for a brass band if they're Muslim or from Pakistan or whatever is because it's not a Pakistani tradition, therefore it's of no interest.
So are brass bands racist? 0344 499 1000. Give us a ring and tell us. And we're with Chloe Dobbs, me and Andre on Talk, back in a couple of minutes.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Chloe Dobbs, our guest co-host for the first hour. Chloe, thank you so much for coming in and talking about all those issues, because we know that you're a veritable expert on the whole issue of immigration. But now you want to talk to us a little bit about Angela Rayner. Now, I'm going to say one thing about Angela Rayner. I would love to have an IQ the size of a tea bag and still be able to buy £1 million house. Right? That would be my ideal in life.
Oh, I mean, this story is just so funny, especially when it comes after we had the homelessness minister have to resign for evicting her own tenants.
Moving ones that will pay more.
We had Tulip Siddiq, the corruption minister, have to resign after she herself ends up being investigated by Bangladesh.
She was a solid
corruption.
gold. Let me tell you something about Tulip Siddiq. She was a solid gold wrong-un, wasn't she? Let's be honest.
I mean, you can't make it up. And then you have the housing minister, whose own department is trying to crack down on evil second homeowners and doubling the council tax you have to pay on second homes. Then the Secretary of State and the Deputy Prime Minister for that department decides, I'm going to buy not my second home, but my third home.
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
And change your name on the deed so you get out of 40 grand stamp duty.
Exactly, and the story was crazy enough as it is.
Animal Farm, it's the pig in Animal Farm.
The day after it came out, the Labour spokespeople or whatever, she didn't name who they were, came out to try and defend her on the basis that A, she is going to pay her council tax on it, so it's all fine. Not a scandal whatsoever. And also they said she needs this 800 grand fancy pad as a base while she's living and working in London. I'm sorry, but how out of touch do you have to be with the people of this country if you think it is a necessity to have a 3-bedroom, 800 grand flat by the sea when you're living and working in London?
With a Grace and Favour house
I would
in
love
London.
to have an 800 grand flat to go to at the weekends whilst I'm living in London
let's
to
just be
de-stress.
clear.
But can I have it, and is it a necessity? No.
Chloe, let's just be clear. The Grace and Favour flat in the Admiralty will be worth millions, maybe 10 million or whatever. I'm told they're a little bit shabby chic, but they are in central Westminster overlooking Trafalgar
Yes, and as you said earlier, there are plenty of people who pay their taxes to fund her lifestyle, who are sitting on the train coming from Surrey, packed with people.
Correct.
In the morning, not enough space to breathe. Maybe you can get a book out if you're lucky, while she is living the high life like a champagne socialist.
There's another element to this, which is she has now conceded she never visits Ashton-under-Lyne. Because she's basically said, look, the reason why... So her argument that it's not a third home is this. She says her primary residence is the Grace and Favour flat provided to her because she is the Deputy Prime Minister, which, by the way, she doesn't pay council tax on. They pay instead business rates, which is a lot more. But OK, so she's got that. So now, what is her other home? Well, actually, she says, well, I never go to Manchester anyway, so I'm changing my name on the title deeds, and my principal home will be a holiday home overlooking the sea.
Exactly.
I mean, how she got 800 grand in the first place? By the way, Tories want an investigation.
Well, this is the other part of the story. This is very fishy. Where has she got 800 grand?
Keith Vaz.
She does not have. She doesn't have an income big enough to get a mortgage like that. We don't know exactly how on earth she's got this money. Maybe Lord Ali's been very kind.
Hang on a second. Let's be Chloe, you're being unfair. I remember when Keith Vaz paid off the mortgage for a £1.5 million house off his 80 grand a year parliamentary salary in 5 years. Keith was brilliant at financial management.
Or Jim, as he was known in certain circles.
But anyway, she is now potentially going to face a formal investigation for the change in stamp duty. So she should have to pay 70 grand in stamp duty on this place. But because she's now declared it as her primary residence, even though she'll only be there probably about 5 days of the year, let's be honest, she's now only going to have to pay 30 grand in stamp duty. She claims it's completely legal.
I've done nothing wrong.
The Tories smell something fishy, as do I, and they have...
Do you think Starmer's up for it behind the scenes, trying to get rid of her, supporting this?
I doubt it. I think Keir Starmer probably doesn't want another scandal. But there's been this isn't just Robert Jenrick or someone putting out a tweet saying, oh, she should be investigated. There has been a formal request, and we should find out in the next few days if she's going to be investigated. And it's interesting. There's this discontinuity with what her Labour spokespeople, whoever they are, have said, because a few days ago, before the whole stamp duty story, they were insisting that her primary residence is still the constituency home, to try and say say, she does visit her constituency.
There was already a
does do her
scandal about
support.
that a couple of years ago,
And then when the stamp duty story comes out, very quickly the line changes and they say, oh wait, no, that's not her primary residence. Actually, this place in Hove is her primary residence.
What she's able to do, because she's entitled to a grace and favour pad in Westminster, and because the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, which is a stupid name, the fees office of the House of Commons, will pay for a second home, she is able to switch round which is her primary residence in order to avoid stamp duty.
She did it a couple of years ago. There was that big story with a council house that she bought. Do you remember?
Well, this is the thing is, I'm just thinking, how stupid do you have to be, Angela Rayner, to do this now? Why don't you just wait until after 2029, when, let's be honest, they won't be in power anymore, to buy a new pad?
Property will probably cost half the price.
Especially when she is the one who caused a huge storm. It rumbled on for months and months and months, the whole storm over her council house, which was about whether or not she's declaring her primary residence as the correct place before the general election.
Her neighbours never saw her, do you remember?
And now she's back in the news for a similar
the reason
story.
she's not done that is because, I would suggest, and this is a guess, is because she bought the council house. Now she's mortgaged the council house up on her 150,000 a year salary as a government minister in order to buy that holiday home, hasn't she?
She probably paid cash.
Maybe. I don't know exactly how she has financed
Where
it.
would the Labour minister get a bag full of cash?
Well, why is
not
the
a
Chinese
good-
embassy happening when MI5 head, MI6 head, the FBI saying this should definitely not be there, but Lammy and Rayner are all arguing for this terrible. There's shaded out basements where they'll have their, prisons and torture
I'm sure the
dungeons.
Chinese they're just building some more accommodation for the migrants.
And it's right between the city and Canary Wharf.
By the way,
Wi-Fi.
By the way, let me tell you something. What Ash has said is absolutely right. The cables in between the banks of the City of London and Canary Wharf run under the new Chinese embassy. They believe that basement is with the intention of cutting the wires and then listening to
Stealing the data.
stealing all the data. They can't decode it at the moment, but they will when quantum computing comes in. And no-brainer Rayner is in favour of it. And
Lammy is.
The other theory going round is that the reason why she's got this new pad in Hove is because she knows from the polling that she is going to lose her seat at the next election. So she's hoping to make Hove
do the chicken run.
To make Hove her new constituency, and then
it's called the chicken run. Do the chicken run. You're a sitting member of Parliament in one seat, but you dump it and run somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Maybe that's her long-term plan, but this is a terrible.
That's interesting, actually.
Well, it's projected that she'll lose her seat there.
Yeah.
I'm sure she will. I think the red wall will collapse to Nigel Farage. I genuinely do.
I do.
Chloe Dobbs, thank you so much for coming in. It's been a depressing day for Britain, but it's always great to see you, especially as you dressed a French maid today.
Hello. I will say this only once.
Did you get that from the set of Hello?
No,
she doesn't even remember it.
I don't even know what that show is.
She didn't even know who Grot Bags from Rob Hollanini was.
I thought Marion Margoyles was Grot Bags.
Do you not study all this stuff in history? It's ridiculous. You should know that stuff.
I did study the French Revolution.
OK, when we get back, we're going to give you the Weekly Whale, which is a classic interview. We'll be back just in a couple of moments.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, as you know, every time Asher and I present this show, we sit in the shadow of greatness. This was the James Whale Show up until just a few weeks ago. And we've decided as our personal commemoration to James Whale that every single week at 11 o'clock on Friday, there will be a classic repeated interview. We have got thousands of them clipped, but it's for Asher to introduce it.
Yeah, and this goes back probably a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and when we had a guy called Charles Amos, political commentator. He looks like George Roper from George and Mildred. He's a bit like weird, and you think, is he a real character? And everyone goes mad at him, and he talks about all kinds of things like cousin marriage and even incest should be allowed and stuff like that. And he actually has some reason to. He's quite clever at that. So Charles Amos, but here he was on talking about the winter fuel allowance. He thinks that should be taken away from the old people because they've had it too good. He gives all the calculations. Turns out he's right. And they should have their bus passes and just live in the freezing cold penury. Anyway, enough of me talking about it. Let's actually watch it. Here's The Great Whale with Charles Amos.
Charles Amos, political commentator. Welcome back. Most hated man.
Enemy of the pensioners. Because
you came on and you agreed. In fact, when we talked to the Labour guy a little earlier, he was embarrassed about it. You could tell he was embarrassed about them banning the winter fuel payments to pensioners.
Even the Union Congress.
But you came on here and you said you think it's a jolly good idea and there should be more things banned going to the elderly
like the
people.
bus pass.
So I brought you back, Charles, really, to see if you've changed your mind and realised you made a mistake.
I haven't changed my mind, James. I still believe that pensioners don't need the winter fuel allowance. If you look at the bottom quintile of pensioners, you'll find they spend 17% of their income on restaurants and hotels, recreation and culture, tobacco and alcohol. They don't need this money. All they need to do to account for the abolition of the winter fuel allowance is to cut their leisure expenditure by 10%.
Why should they? When you've grown so old, worked all your life, then you get to a situation in life where you don't have to work anymore, Charles. You should be able to enjoy it. Not have to go and scrimp and save to keep warm and keep fed.
If the basis of giving out welfare is need, it's clear they don't need it, so they shouldn't get the winter fuel allowance.
Charles,
now, if you're saying...
make yourself into one of the most hated men in the country.
Fine, I'm willing to accept that title, because I say the right thing.
You've stolen it off him.
Now, if you're looking at the fact that pensioners have paid into the system, so they should get something out of it at the end of 40 years of work,
50.
then I would say this. Baby boomers, have paid in... for every £1 they've paid in, they've taken £1.10 to 20 out of the welfare state.
Where? How do you work that out?
By getting rid of the winter fuel allowance, you're simply ensuring they just get out of the welfare state what they've paid in. That figures from the Resolution Foundation's Welfare Generation 2018
I don't listen to any of these figures. I listen to common sense, and I think,
OK, well, let's look at common sense. The national debt is £2.5 trillion.
So why are we giving money abroad to other countries? 10, 12 million people.
That clearly means, James, that people, on average, have taken more out of the welfare state than they've paid in.
Because
the foreign
we
aid
now
budget,
have...
I get rid of it.
Because of quantitative easing, the economy is in such a
£13 billion a year out of a £1 trillion budget. It's tiny.
Hang on, just both of you, shut up a minute. The reason that is happening is because we have allowed more and more people to do less and less work. We have brought people in all over the place to do stuff, and our citizens, quite a lot of them, not us, obviously, the pensioners like myself, we've worked hard all our lives, but some of those sort of middle-aged kind of younger people who've never had a job, don't want a job, not doing a job for that amount of money, then I agree. Have a little go. But we worked pretty hard, those of us who've worked, you know, until our 60s and some of us to our 70s. So I don't see why we should be picked on. A lot of young people, you're 24, you've got no life experience at all, so you don't know what you're talking about, really. And there is no way I'm going to put up with people of your children in my view, children.
Well, you could be your grandchild.
You could be my grandchild. I've got a grandchild of the same age as you. I mean, you can't come on the media and start slagging old people off because they are getting too much. They're not.
It's a drop in the ocean.
I'm absolutely sad.
Well, I will say this. Throughout my very short life, I've been a baggage handler, I've been a parcel processor, I've been a sale assistant, I've been a think tanker, and I'm currently a trainee accountant. So I think I do have some life experience. But that's...
Well, not a lot. You haven't obviously stayed in any of those jobs very long.
Handled baggage.
That's by the by.
Yeah.
Let me say again. Pensioners that were born between 1945 and 1966, they've taken £1.20 out of the welfare state for every £1 they've paid in. Now, I'm all in favour of hard-working pensioners getting out of the welfare state what they've paid in. I'm all in favour of that.
It's a drop in the ocean. What about dole scroungers? People, you know...
Many pensioners say that. But the fact is, they shouldn't get that extra 20p on the pound.
How dare you patronise people like
I'm
me?
not patronising them.
He's saying you've taken £1.20 for every pound.
He's accusing me.
He's had a lot more than that,
I'm not
probably.
accusing you in particular. I'm accusing the average...
What about my
would.
bus pass?
I'd be all in favour of getting rid of the free bus pass. It costs £789 million
They can keep war money.
a year.
They keep war money.
We can get rid of that.
Then
we can reduce the national
stop
debt
wasting
by
money.
That. I'm all in favour of wasting... I'm all in favour of being against
Angela
wasting
Rayner
money.
coming on the show, we hope, later, having a photographer which we're paying £68,000 a year for to follow around and take stupid photographs of her?
That's a grain of sand in the mountain of government expenditure. The government spends £1 trillion a year. This pensioners' cut... You know, it's important, but it's only 1.6 billion.
Do you understand how?
exactly.
Listen,
It's nothing, isn't it?
It's nothing.
So they could pay.
Both of you, you're nearly old.
It's the dole scroungers.
Both of you.
Billions is lost there. Why don't you talk about that?
Shut up now.
Why don't you talk
Do
about
you
that?
not understand how lonely old people get? People who get to a certain age, who never get invited out, whose family have probably moved on, whose partners have died. Do you not understand how difficult... And as soon as you get above 60, your health is not as good as it was before.
Sometimes he just wants to hop on a bus and just go around.
Do you not understand how hurtful you're being? It really is. Yeah. You are actually... You're making me very, very sad to hear a young guy of 25 who's not done very much in his life, never got elected.
I have been elected. I was elected as a town councillor in 2019.
Well, it doesn't surprise me because most town councillors are stupid. But
I would agree with that, James. I agree with that.
Why are you doing this? Because you're making yourself a figure of hate. I'm just warning you for your own good. Warning you for your own good. You're taking the wrong stance here. And if we do see the Labour Party go ahead and cancel the winter fuel payment, I predict that Starmer will not be the Prime Minister for full term.
Well, I'd welcome that because I'm not a fan of Keir Starmer at all, despite the fact I'm supporting him on this policy. I'm in favour of
probably get invited to number 10 before
reducing
long.
government expenditure because I am a libertarian. And a libertarian believes that individuals are entitled to their person and property. The state is an evil organisation.
An evil organisation?
An evil organisation.
What would you replace the state with?
Well, anarcho-capitalism, a system of private policing organisations, private judicial organisations and private armies. I think that could run the country. Private armies.
What about benevolent dictatorship?
I'd welcome a benevolent dictatorship, I say in jest, if long as I was the benevolent dictator.
What about the single person's allowance that they were going to take away and now they're not the 25%?
Yeah, I'm totally against that idea because if you use fewer government services, you should have to pay
You
less.
should agree the poll tax was the correct tax for councils.
Well, I'm against all taxation because taxation is theft, but I think the poll tax was an improvement upon the system of taxation that it was replacing because it meant everybody was paying for what they were using. Exactly. So I would have backed Thatcher on that if the alternative was the existing tax system.
What about my free TV licence?
Yeah, I'd get rid of that too.
Does he get one?
I'd get rid of that too, so pensioners only get what they have paid in. I don't think they should get more out than what they've paid in.
It's likely. Well, that's because maybe they were told. Well, I remember when I first started work, and I was 16 at the time.
1937.
Shut up. And being told, or looking through what you paid and how much, and the projection of what you might get as a pension looked really good, because I think I started work at about £11 a week.
Which is a fortune back then.
And that was sort of 45 quid a month. And back in 1967, I think it was. But when you get to pension age and you find...
you haven't got a pot to...
Exactly. I mean, I did start a private pension, but then when I got ill first time about 25 years ago, you could take it out when you were 50, I did. And so I ended up with about 50 quid a week, I think, which is not bad. But
I would ask this question. Why should those wealthy pensioners who have paid into a private pension and had to forego holidays and fancy restaurant meals...
They get taxed on the pension anyway.
...be taxed on that private pension to support those pensioners who have never saved, who have had all of the fun when they're young and now expect somebody else to pick up the tab when they're elderly.
A lot of these people, when they're elderly, just on the ordinary state pension, didn't earn very much money. They're not... There are some millionaire pensioners, but there aren't anywhere near as many as you think. A majority of people are probably on a pension so small that they are able to get pension credit, and it looks as if that's all going to be messed up by various things. We cannot expect the old people of this country to be put into a situation of hardship. Sure, there are a lot of pensioners who live in houses probably worth over £1 million quid. Who knows? But
You're right.
Why would you make them have to leave their home where they're comfortable at the end of their days and go and live somewhere else? You know, if you wanted to put up a bit of tax on whatever, if you've got any money left in the... I mean, I know people who have taken money out of their home just so they can exist. And that is, of course, an opportunity too. But it's very hurtful.
People should not expect taxpayers to support them when they are elderly. They should stand on their own 2 feet. And I will say this again. The bottom 20% of pensioners spend 17% of their income on restaurants, hotels, recreation, culture, alcohol and tobacco.
It's a small percentage.
Now, that equates to about £2,070. All they would need to do, James, and I stress this point again, is reduce their leisure expenditure, the poorest pensioners, by 10%.
Why should they? They're
because
struggling.
They shouldn't expect taxpayers to be forced to pick up their tab. Why should ordinary taxpayers
We picked up the tab of the pensioners in the past. We picked up the pensioners of my mother, my grandmother, my father, my grandfather. We have always done it this way. This is how society works.
But you're unloading a greater burden on the generation
in
of
their
tomorrow.
20s, like you, who know friggle about what they're talking, and you sit here smugly. We have paid for the pensions of the people that have gone before us and happily done it. We have paid for the pensions of those people who went and fought in the war, kept us safe from the bloody Nazis, and now we've got these scumbags wandering around the streets.
Yes, but
shouting
you've
out
passed
anti-Semitic
on a
things.
greater debt to young people.
That's
Each
not our
generation
fault.
should pay for itself.
Is not our fault.
Yes, it is, because
it's
pensioners of this generation have voted for the triple jock. They voted for free bus passes. They voted for free winter fuel allowance. They voted to unload debt upon the future generation.
And I think people like you should not be allowed to go on the dole. If you can't get a job...
That's the biggest... Why don't you talk about the social security and then billions, a lot more? That's a drop in the ocean of pension. You don't even talk about that. That's a much bigger issue.
The Labour Party is proposing this, and I'm not the Chancellor, I'm going to back the Labour Party on doing it.
But the trade unions Congress, they went against it.
I would get rid of unemployment benefit. I'd be all for that.
When you see people sleeping on the street, when you see people with not enough money to eat, when you see people begging... What do you think should be done about that? And a lot of those people are elderly.
A number of the people that I see that are homeless are young. They're not elderly, and I live in Oxford, and there are a great number of homeless people there, and in the vast majority of instances I just walk past them because in great many instances it's their own fault or they're fake beggars.
Should they bring the workhouse back? The modern version of the workhouse?
I would bring back...
bring back the workhouse?
I would bring back the workhouse.
Bring back the workhouse.
The alternative...
Sorry, can I stop
the modern
you?
welfare
Did you
state
actually
today.
say
I would
bring back the workhouse?
Bring back the workhouse.
Did you actually
if you
agree
look
with
at
that?
the Poor Law Amendment Act of 1833, you'll find that it halved welfare expenditure during that period. It was a successful policy, and more people ought to
we could have a work from home house now, couldn't we? A work from home
the
house.
liberal Victorians, such as Chadwick, that put in place the policy. It's time that we say goodbye to the namby-pamby progressivism that will just give out money to anybody.
It won't be like the old one. It'll be like a travel lodge, won't it? It'll be much nicer than the old ones. It won't be like the old one, Oliver Twist. It'll be like a Premier Inn.
Quiet! I am disgusted, Charles. Disgusted. And don't tell me... Shut up. You and Charles... Why don't you and Charles...
No, a modern version of the workhouse.
Hang on. Why don't you and Charles bugger off to the pub and leave me alone for the rest of the show? Be a good idea. Charles, do you want to go with a pub with him?
That guy's not real.
He actually did speak sense when you listened to him. I was
that guy. He's bought that outfit from the Bernardo shop. He's not real. I don't believe he's real.
With that.
So the producer has said that he's going to come in on a future week, on a future show. But anyway, that is our weekly tribute to James Whale. If you want to suggest something for the show, if you want to suggest a classic clip, the easiest thing to do is to take your phone, 0344 499 1000, and send us one of those WhatsApp voice notes, and we can play them out. We can have some nominations. All of you got favourite clips. Now, obviously, you don't have to remember.
What did you play last week, by the way? We had Tony Topping. That's my heart you're laughing at. What did you have last week?
I can't remember. There's been that many good ones. I can't remember. That's my art. That's my art. I listen to you. That's my art. That's my art. Okay, even if you can't remember the name of the person that's going to be interviewed, you can just say, do you remember that bloke who was talking about Dianetrics or whatever? And we will find the clip. More next. Okay, I maintain that Charles Amos is not real. I maintain that.
No, he's real, man. Chuck went for a drink with him.
Did he, Hal?
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
He was saying he went for a drink with him.
By the way, I'm impressed that you supported the return to the workhouse before.
It makes a lot of sense. Obviously, it wouldn't be like that. I mean, it'd be like a modern, like, as I say, a Premier Inn type place. They'd love it. And not only that, it wasn't all bad, the workhouse, because we discovered that gruel, because you always think it's bad, it's actually, isn't it like...
Horlicks and Ovaltine.
Ovaltine and Horlicks. It's not that bad after all. You could live on that perfectly reasonably.
And thick gruel is porridge, isn't it?
So it's all great. I mean, add a bit of, something on top, some sprinkles, or maybe some dried flowers if you're Meghan Markle.
Some dried flowers.
And it's delicious.
Anyway, just to be clear, why we support the return of the workhouse is not actually because of the workhouse itself. It's because of this idea of each individual parish or each individual ward looking after its own poor. And so,
well, they can just make things.
You no longer have. Well, no. I'll tell you what would happen. As an example, say as an example, under that system, you lost your job. What would happen is people would go, "All right, Asher, we will pay your benefits, but you've got to go to the local college and teach kids how to do broadcast production."
Or I can fill potholes or something like that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly right.
Got to think outside the box. Anyway. It's all, I'll teach kids broadcasting. Yeah, it'd be some great broadcasters then, wouldn't it?
Absolutely right.
But anyway, look, it's all about your calls now. Calls. 0344 499 1000. Whatever you want to talk about, news or past, or what you think's happening in the future, give us a ring, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess what we'll do is we'll go to Grace in London first. Grace, you are on talk.
Hi, I hope you're having a good week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, various things. I mean, I do think that the situation regarding migration and hotels is far more complicated and nuanced than some people, not you guys necessarily, but some in the media might have one believe. And I was frustrated by Farage, for instance, saying this is about whose side you're on, because we all know that it's more complicated than there being two sides. We all know that some people are coming who shouldn't be, and there are some people coming who are fleeing terrible situations.
Yeah, but the government are against the people. That's the other side.
Yeah, but hang on a second. Also, Grace, wasn't the two sides on the side of the women and girls, or on the side of having an ECHR and all of this human rights agenda? He didn't say, "Are you on the side of young girls or migrants?" Or at least I don't know.
That is what the Home Office basically came out and admitted in the court case. They tried to appeal on the fact that they put them above the rights of the people, the migrants. That actually was what they said.
I don't believe that Farage is primarily concerned about women and girls. If he were, then he would not, for instance, have posed smiling with Andrew Tate. I think he is taking advantage of the fact that some women and girls suffer to get votes for himself.
That's their narrative, though, isn't it? The government's narrative. It was like that PSYOP operation with that Netflix programme that they put on. You know, it's nothing about this. Don't look over there. We'll look over here. We're going to show it in all the schools. And it was all made up, wasn't it? A lot of it was sort of the bogeyman. It's like when Prevent said...
Are you talking about Adolescence?
Yeah.
I didn't even watch it. I don't have Netflix.
I haven't watched it. I knew enough. I saw it 30 seconds. I thought it was...
Sorry to interrupt you, but somebody's just been in touch to say that Ready Brek is also gruel. Right.
I love Ready Brek.
Ready Brek is thick gruel. Sorry, Grace. Asher and I are obsessed with what products are
Breaking news, Ready Brek is gruel.
It's a type of gruel. Right, come on, sorry.
Carry on, Grace.
Appreciation for porridge is no bad thing. But I was particularly struck by how Farage used the word sin this week. He was asked about what would happen if people were sent back and then they were tortured in their home countries. And for a while I've heard people saying, well, none of these people are actually fleeing persecution. They're all just economic migrants. In contrast to that, he said, essentially acknowledging that some people could be tortured, he said, we can't be responsible for the sins of the whole world.
Well, that's true, isn't it? That is true, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Grace. Do you not accept that if we send back or refuse people, some people will die as a result, but actually having a strong, united Christian United Kingdom, even though that's a clunky phrase, will actually save far more people? And in the end, in an imperfect world, you have to balance things. For me, if the United Kingdom ceases to be a democratic, free Christian country, then actually many more people around the world will suffer.
And the government's priority has to be the people here, not the world. The world, it's our people.
It's not a Christian country. I wish it were, but it's not. The vast majority of people in this country do not. It's more. But
that's not what it means. It doesn't mean how many people the majority. It's about the essence. The Constitution is Church of England, isn't it, or Church of Scotland?
But it's not really just about an essence. I
agree.
The point is, when he used the word sin isn't just the evil things that the regime in Afghanistan or Iran are doing. Sin is the fundamental problem within the human heart. And all of us, according to Christianity, and I know most people don't believe in Christianity, but it's how the word entered our lexicon, the word sin refers to the fact that...
But I understand all that, Grace, but let me just give you a simple...
I know you do.
Let me give you a simple principle. Let me make 2 points to you. Point number one, people are increasingly coming back to Christianity, and I think that there is now a strong argument to say that Christianity is not in terminal decline. Things ebb and flow, and actually there have been examples in the past. But secondly, my point is always this. When we empty Libya, when we empty Afghanistan, when we empty Pakistan of their entire populations and move them to the United Kingdom, the end result is not that Pakistan's improved and the United Kingdom's improved. What happens is a small number of refugees get a better life. However, the host country becomes poorer and the country they've left becomes poorer as well. And there's two reasons for that. Number one, the young men have all left and therefore that is damaging to the economy. In the country they move to, there is a cost associated with a new population coming in on things like housing. Both countries become less wealthy and less successful.
But not really, because I think the people leaving... Hold on, Grace. The people leaving those countries are not the people doing well in those countries. They'll stay in those countries. So it's actually filtering in and we're getting actually the worst of all these countries.
I think again, it is really complicated because there are some people coming who are just chancellors and there are some other people...
It's pretty simple though, Grace. We've seen, sexual assaults going up 4 times in London in 10 years. It's not suddenly British people.
I don't think that's necessarily... I'd be interested to see where those figures are from, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily because of...
Well, OK, OK, Grace, so sex crime, you could say the fact that there has been brilliant shows about Jimmy Savile and there's been exposés on people who've... people like, what's his name, Australian guy, why can't I remember his name? Rolf Harris. Because there's been that, more people have come forward, and that is a good thing. However, there is one crime beyond any other that is definitely associated with migrants and is definitely come over in this wave of immigration. That is machete street crime. There is no culture of using machetes on the streets of London until Africans came to this country in the numbers that they came. There is definitely a migrant-associated crime wave.
I mean, I'm not disputing that there are some really disturbing things going on, but we should look, for example, at what was happening to some Africans when Belgium invaded the Congo. It's not as though...
But that's not what the British Empire did.
Well, the British Empire did some pretty awful things.
Not anything like the Belgian Empire. In fact, most countries wanted to keep the systems that we gave to them.
The word machete just brought that particular image to my mind. But I think my point is that we want to presume that we are on the good side and we are so much more civilised, but actually... humanity is endlessly complicated.
Well, okay, Grace, let me throw
all of us.
Let me throw something back at you there because we're gonna have to go to the break. My argument is this: if you believe it is wrong for a group of white people to go to Pakistan and take over parts of Pakistan and to live off the hard work and labour of ordinary Pakistanis, why 50 or 100 years later does it become right for them to do it to us? Surely you should say, if you believe that that the British were a parasite on India, surely you should believe that times have moved on and we now know not to do that to anybody else.
They never talk about the benefits of the empire.
What in fact you're arguing, Grace, admittedly you're not doing it explicitly, is we know that colonisation is a bad thing. In that knowledge, we are allowing Britain to be colonised.
I'm not really saying whether or not people should be coming. I think the better thing would be for our politicians to deal with the systems that are continuing to unjustly extract wealth from these countries. I mean, for instance, international debt is leaching money out of countries through vulture funds, for instance.
Yes,
I think our politicians should focus on problems like that. I'm not necessarily saying that they should all come and live over here, but I think that
I agree.
More broadly, it's not about us being great people and them not being so great people. Sin is a universal problem of the human heart.
Correct.
And we can't fix it by keeping people out.
OK, Grace, thank you so much. We are going to have to go to the break, but there is a little bit of breaking news now at 11:30. BMG Research have released a poll of adults polled between the 26th and 28th of August, and Reform UK have exceeded their previous record. They are now on 35%, up 3. Labour are on 20%, down 3. The Conservatives on 17%, down 1. Liberal Democrats stay where they were at 13, and the Greens are down 1 at 7.
Reform are smashing it, basically, aren't they?
35% under our current electoral system with 5 major parties may be enough for Nigel Farage to win an absolute majority. But this is once again what is consistent here is the 15 or 16% lead that Reform has over Keir Starmer's Labour Party. More next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, OK, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. I have to say, we love Grace to bits. Well, actually, we like all of our callers. But I have to say, time and time again, how many times have you heard the phrase, well, we wrecked their country, now it's their turn to wreck ours? The reality is we have to make both countries more successful. She didn't quite say that, and indeed she didn't mean it. But nonetheless, that was an implication.
Yeah.
OK, what about Tristan in Southend? Tristan, you are on Talk. How's your poo berg?
Andre. Good evening.
Poo berg?
Yeah, I think it finally flushed. It's somewhere going down the Thames estuary.
Are you at work?
So what? You blocked the toilet? You had a big meal?
No.
I've done that. Yeah.
No.
Right,
Tristan. Hey, Tristan, stop. Explain to Asher what the poo berg is.
I wasn't here last week. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yes. What happened was I was on Ozempic for some time.
That's right.
And I collapsed, fainted, and had a blood pressure of 80 over something silly. It was really low.
Yeah.
Ambulance called out, rushed into hospital, put in majors, and it turned out I had a major blockage.
What you mean? It was too solid and it had blocked
that was
the
it.
gut.
And my body took the water out.
Your whole
of my
body
blood.
was backed up with.
It was 5 pounds.
It was 5 pounds
feces.
of weight I lost when I next.
So basically, do you know how Thames Water have to destroy those fatbergs? What had happened was the fat had compacted in his gut, 5 pounds of it, and the water was leaching from his blood to try and lubricate it so he could have
it wasn't working.
No, it wasn't working.
You were
at
full
all.
of.
Yep,
shit.
literally.
He was full of shit.
Anyway, guys, I have a serious point to raise.
Well, no, that was
That sounds very serious. So they managed to get it all out.
Yes, it's all dealt with and all over and up with. Yeah, and off Ozempic.
Where did they?
How
did they do it?
How did they do it? I had to let nature run its course. They pumped me full of absolutely tons of litres of water into a drip.
How'd they pump it? I mean, down the top or up the bottom?
No, into my hand. They gave me loads of water. They put loads of saline into my hand or whatever it was.
And did they give you coffee and stuff? You know, stuff that will make you go, like that X-Lax chocolate and that? Yeah.
No, nothing like that. I was really hoping to have a serious chat, guys.
Well, that is serious. You can't get more serious than getting backed up by 5 kilograms of feces. Anyway, what is it?
Come on.
You're egg-bound.
Chloe Dobbs, who was on tonight, she did a huge justice to broadcasting tonight. Right. And I hope every viewer who watched tonight remembers every word she said about Angela Rayner. The reason I say this is Labour spin doctors, ever since Blair, have come up with something called a good day to bury bad news.
Yes.
And that's where they make sure a story goes out a few hours before a major story breaks out, and the media get caught up in it. It's already been forgotten what Angela Rayner's done by the mainstream media, who have gone back to calling us flag-waving racists. Now, the other thing I will say, it's completely lost on everyone about Angela Rayner's council house. When she brought that house,
hasn't it? Yeah.
When she brought that house, she would have got a 48% discount. Now, I'm a council tenant, and she has scrapped that discount for me.
Yeah.
My discount
Pulled the drawbridge up.
Yep, my discount would be £9,000. That is the end of my social mobility. I will never own a house now.
Yes.
Although I wanted to. So it's either for her to own 3 because she's one of them. Because I'm not, I don't get home ownership. They treat us like we are dirt on
And
their
look what
shoes.
happened with Boris Johnson on the 50 grand wallpaper, the whole furore in the media, and then this with the council
absolutely.
house. It's all this
Ash, you're right. But this is the thing. This is typical socialist behaviour. Remember Bob Crow, the union
Oh,
leader?
yeah.
It's the pig in Animal Farm, isn't it?
Yeah. He earned well over £120,000 from my recollection.
That's right.
Per year, and still rented a council property.
Oh yeah, well, it's for
remember
life,
that one?
isn't it? Once you get it, it's for life.
Yeah, this is what I say. When Angela Rayner was calling the Tory scum, believe me, that's what they think of us. We are dirt to them.
We'll always accuse people of what you are.
Exactly.
That's what
Yeah.
Gould said.
Poobog.
But don't think they're on your side. If this country ever elects a Labour government again after this, then it gets what it deserves. Nobody learned after the Blair years. A younger generation
But that
came
wasn't
up.
really like this, was it? This is a whole other level.
But hasn't every political party just effectively failed, Tristan?
Yeah, I mean, the Boris wave was the major one.
Spectacular, Andre. This is way beyond anything the Tories ever
Yeah, but the
did.
Boris
It's like
wave was bad. It was $1 million a year net. It was actually 1.6 million a year gross, which is actually more important because it's people of not British culture coming. So it's the gross figure should be looked at, not the net figure.
That's it. You're absolutely right, Ash.
Not
totally.
wrong.
But please don't forget Chloe Dobbs' interview tonight, guys, because it will disappear very quickly because of the major news story that's broken this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Let's go
Tristan.
to Paul in Halifax. Paul. Paul.
Come on, Paul.
Hey, gentlemen, how are you doing?
All right, man. Are you on hand free?
I am now at the moment.
Can you use your hand, please, Paul?
I am. That's everything done. I'm back to you. How are you doing?
But can you use your hand, please, Paul? Paul?
Yes, I'm here.
Are you still hands-free, Paul?
I am not hands-free. I'm with you now.
Sounds the
Everybody
same
okay?
as before. Anyway, what's up, Paul?
We're talking about visas and immigration, legal immigration and illegal immigration. Now, my partner has lived here since 2002. She's been a migrant from Asia for 23 years. She had to apply again for a digital visa to come back into the UK after she went to Turkey for a holiday. She weren't allowed back in, despite paying. She's got businesses, she's got everything that you can possibly have because she's wanted to come here and pay taxes, and she's probably paid over $1.5 million, let's say, possibly. And she went to Turkey for a holiday, but because she didn't have a digital visa to come back in, she wasn't allowed back in. She had to go to Thailand, reapply, and then 3 months later had to come back into the country.
Why is that, though? I mean, just because you haven't got a digital visa?
Yeah, there's now an e-board and now digital thing.
She was allowed here, the Home Office, and a piece of paper that's in her wardrobe. She didn't have it on digital format, so she weren't allowed back in. I don't know if anybody's aware of this.
Ridiculous.
But it's a big, it is ridiculous, Ash. And she wasn't allowed back in, so she had to sit out in Thailand. I live in Thailand, by the way, because I'm sick to death of this horrific.
So you moved out there because of all these problems?
I moved out here because it's horrendous.
But hold on, you're in Poole in Dorset now.
Pardon? No, I'm in Halifax, England.
Well, that's still not. You said you were in Bangkok.
I didn't say I'm in Bangkok. I don't live in Bangkok. I
Or
live in
Thailand. You
Thailand.
said you were in Thailand, but you're not.
I have had to come back here, sort her visa out,
Oh,
a
right.
digital visa, so she can, which involves going to Leeds, having her fingerprints tested.
And does it cost thousands of pounds? Because I've spoke to callers before, and it's like thousands of pounds to do all this.
It can
Why
do.
didn't you just get a sticker on a boat? I'm not joking.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And that is what a friend of mine said. Why don't you just take her from Turkey, go through all the countries over there, get her to Calais, come over on a digger,
Yeah.
right? But she's a British citizen, pretty much, without a passport. She never wanted nationality here. She wanted to work here, and she has done that since just after the 9/11 attacks. If she could have done it before that, they closed the airspace, she'd have been here before that.
Does she want to live here?
She doesn't. She lives here, but she doesn't want to be a British subject.
Why not?
she's not British. She's Thai.
But she can join you can become British, you get a passport.
Mr. Dudley.
And that's the thing, she's got a sense of her nationality, as have I. Even though I live in Thailand, she lives there. Sometimes we don't see each other for 6 months at a time, mate. And that's the problem, right? Accepting the country that we live in. But we never even were aware that you needed a digital visa.
Although it was widely advertised at the time that that the electronic entry thing was now going to be a requirement because the EU were requiring British nationals.
You having a go at Paul for that? Yeah.
It was widely advertised.
It was widely advertised, you're saying, Paul?
We were aware of that. Sorry, our ignorance might be something different. We've got work to do.
But at the same time...
I didn't know about it.
At the same time, in defence...
No, exactly, Ash. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but hang on a second, Paul. Hang on a second, Paul. Paul, I can't make a show that is anti-uncontrolled immigration, and then when the Home Office does one thing to make it harder to get in, suddenly rebuke them for it.
Not rebuking. It's just not something that we were aware of.
Well, it's your duty. It's your duty to understand the immigration system before you arrive.
You're possibly correct on that.
I know, but I know it's annoying, but that is the position.
But they make you jump through hoops, don't they? Anyway, thanks, Paul. Let's go to Philippa, and she's in Poole in Dorset.
Hi, Andre. Hi, Ash. It's
Hello.
lovely to speak to you. Hope you're having a good evening.
Yeah, man, it's really good.
I'm not because my blood pressure is through the roof. I am sick.
Have you got a poop bag as well?
Maybe because we... No, yeah, sorry. Why? Because of what you're hearing about all this, this court case?
Yeah. Every single day there's fresh horrors coming on the news. And I am absolutely incensed with it all. I'm incensed with the fact that this government is putting illegal migrants first before its own...
And they said it out loud for the first time in court.
And they also said that part of the reason why they were going to suspend the planning law and rule against Epping Forest, even though they knew Epping Forest were in the right, was that they feared that it would embolden the patriotic people of this country to protest at more hotels if they knew that illegal hotels would be shut down.
Which is ridiculous, because that's not a point of law to do with this case. It's just so ridiculous. They're doing it right in front of our eyes.
I am really, really concerned that our culture is being eroded.
Well, it is.
Our heritage is being eroded.
Yeah.
Our democracy itself is being eroded.
Yeah.
We are...
Well, we saw that with the council elections when they gerrymandered it, because they go, we're changing the boundaries, so we better not have... We knew why they were doing it.
But I've got a friend of mine, Philippa, who wanted to be the Conservative candidate in Slough, not the last election, a couple of elections before. And he said that when he turned up for the selection meeting, there were 3 people in the final. There was a Muslim gentleman, there was a Sikh gentleman, and there was him. And he said, basically, the selection was all about who could get more Sikhs or who could get more Muslims. And basically, all the Muslim members voted for the Muslim, all the Sikh members voted for the Sikhs, and on the day there happened to be more Sikhs than Muslims. We have not had really... When Jez Ballar wins Slough, and I happen to know Slough, by the way, that will be one of the first times since, the last election, but only for 1 year, have we had ethnic and religious voting in that way. There is a Muslim party in this country, and that's going to win Slough.
The vote was for Gaza, wasn't it? That was what they all did, these 5 seats.
As a very strong woman of strong faith, a Christian faith, and of strong morals, and who loves her country and who loves her culture and her heritage, I am going to stand for reform as an MP or as a local councillor when I get the chance in Poole. Because we really need change in this country, and we need to bring it back to our traditions and our heritage.
What do you say to people? What do you say to people who say that Nigel Farage is not going far enough?
Well, the thing is, Reform are a new party. They haven't got all their policies written out in stone yet. They haven't got their full manifesto written out yet. You have to give them a chance. They've got 4 years to get themselves sorted out, to get all their candidates in a row, to get all their MPs in a row that they want to bring into Parliament when they get voted in, because Nigel is going to be the next Prime Minister of this country. We need somebody with a backbone like him who says it as it is. When he's interviewed, he answers questions right on the nail. He doesn't shy away from the hard questions, and that's what I love about him. And that's
but what do you say when he said, a couple of years ago, he said, "Oh no, we can't. It's practically impossible. We could not, deport hundreds of thousands of people." And now he's saying 600,000. So that sort of contradicts what you just said. But is it like the Overton window that's shifting? Is that what that is?
The thing is, he is trying to put in place all his policies ready for a general election, and he's discussing it all with his team. They've just elected a whole new load of directors for the board for reform.
They have.
Wayne Towler being one of them.
Correct.
So they've all got to get together and discuss all these things, and then write them out and let the public know.
And not a manifesto like he did last time, a contract where he will be bound to.
I'll tell you what I like about reform, Philippa. I will tell you this. So, first of all, I believe that we need, in this country, decent political parties. I would love us to take back control of the Labour Party for ordinary working class people. That seems so very far away at the moment. I think the right is better organised. I like what Ben Habib says. I even like what Rupert Lowe says. But I genuinely believe that my reason for saying Farage at the moment is because he's the only person that's leading a party that's willing to do anything. Badenoch is supine as far as I'm concerned.
Jenrick's the powerhouse in the Tories now.
Exactly. Well, as we discussed before, boys, I was a Labour voter all my life,
Yes.
and was proud of that. I am not anymore. I will never ever vote for that party again. And I love Reform because they are concerned about this country, about British patriots, about our heritage, about community, about family, all the things that Britain
Philippa,
stands
can I ask
for.
you another question that Asher Gould has made a point on multiple occasions? How significant do you think it is that it's the mums and grandmas that are now coming out to campaign? It's not the usual suspects. It's not rent-a-gob. It's not, people like me who are paid to sit here and talk about the issues of the day. We now have a group of women who sit round and say, we need to take our country back and save it for our families.
That's a response to authoritarian government.
Do you know why? Do you know why? Because women are concerned about their children, about their grandchildren.
No, it's not that. It's because people are scared of the authoritarian government, and what they do, they slur them crowds as Nazis and thugs if there's men, and it's hard to do that against women. Russian mothers have been coming out for years, and this is a reflection. It's almost subconscious that they're coming out, and this is how society reacts against authoritarian, tyrannical government.
It's that as well. And because women know they have a voice, and know now, with everything that's going on, they are going to be listened to.
Yes.
Thank you there, Philippa. We're going to take a little breaky. 03444 99 1000. It's Talk. It's Andre and Ash. Back in a couple of minutes.
Yes, this is Talk. Let's go straight to Phil in Worthing. Phil, you're on Talk.
Oh, good evening, Andre. How are you,
All right, mate.
All right, mate. All
No,
right.
it's cultural appropriation.
He's not a brummie.
He is a brummy.
Oh, is he?
I am a. How are you, Ash? You're
I'm all right, man.
Did you have a nice holiday, mate?
I did. I was down Eastbourne, down the seaside. I do like to be beside the seaside, and it was. You can go on my Twitter at Virtual Ash and see me throwing a chicken nugget into.
No. I'm old school, Ash. I don't do all that. But listen, Ash, do you think the Villa are going to go down?
A lot of people are saying that. Why, no, I don't think we will.
Not looking very good, mate. Anyway, listen, can I change the subject?
Well, you changed it to Villa.
See,
not
we
me.
can do Talk Sports as well as they can. See, that was brilliant. That was.
I want to go back to Andre. I think what you were saying tonight, lads, was absolutely critical. We must never. I can see in the future your TV station will be shut down.
Why?
It'll be shut down.
If we say the truth.
If you fast forward about 10 years, lads, you won't even have a chance. You won't even be allowed to say anything.
Unless we win.
Well, it is going that way. Yeah, exactly. What about the turnaround that's beginning? The English resistance putting up the flags and the Scottish, resistance.
Well, lads, where I live now in Worthing, we have flags flying, Union Jacks up and down our street.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
I was thinking of getting a ladder on Sunday and a load of flags and going out and doing it myself down my street.
Well, I tell you what, Andre, you're an absolute patriot, and I love you for that, Andre. Thank you so much. And when you go to Larne in Northern Ireland, as you drive into Larne from the port from, I think it's Stranraer, as you come into Northern Ireland, you're just literally bombarded with hundreds of Union Jacks.
And it's interesting in Ireland, well, Northern Ireland and in the South, it's brought together the Protestant and Catholic communities, hasn't it?
They've united.
They've got a common enemy. common. The government, again, is the enemy of the people.
It has, but let me go back to Andre. Andre, you are one of the cleverest. Your analysis of the Kaliningrad and the Belarusian link, and no one was listening when you said that. I was listening. It was absolutely.
there was a few people listening.
It was absolutely brilliant analysis, in my opinion.
Oh, thanks so much. That's very nice of you to say.
Yeah, it was brilliant analysis. And people in our country, they don't listen to realpolitik, do they? They're too busy watching the bloody news and all this, excuse my language, the bollocks, It's Andre Walker.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Yesterday, lest we forget, that Tom Bradbury on ITV, who's been starting all of the 10 o'clock newses with these big monologues, started it by saying that the school shooter in America was a right-wing extremist, and actually that was simply and demonstrably factually inaccurate.
Not true. Completely inaccurate.
So to lie. And let's use a legal term, he knew or ought to have known by that point it was a lie.
But I must say, I've been watching you guys for 3 years now. I am I'm almost a contributor over the years, aren't I, boys?
We're not paying you.
I know that. But, boys, I am the biggest fan of your channel. You know that. You're the best in the world. This is a last chance for us. This is the last chance for freedom of speech. If you go, and what's the lovely lady, Helen in Girvan on the...
Heather in Girvan, yeah, if she goes.
That's the sort of lady we love. That's the sort of person we
Actually, let's have her on with you, Phil. Here's Heather in Girvan. Did you hear that, Heather? He loves you.
Yeah.
You have a chat to Phil. You two have a little chat.
Well, still, it's not Stranraer. It's here and Ryan. You go from there to Lads and Northern Ireland.
Phil.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Helen. God bless you. I listen to you all the time. Helen.
I speak with common sense here because if we need to get a lot more bolder and a lot more stronger, and with this appellation, as Andre was explaining about, we need this appellation to really happen. We need 100 degrees
change on this appellation.
Okay, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say goodbye to Phil, and I'm going to also mute Heather. And the reason I'm going to mute Heather is because we are coming up to the break. So I'll say goodbye to Phil, and let's keep Heather on, and we start the next hour with Heather. So Heather, if you can hang around, I appreciate that. But just to say to all of you, this is an important night, and I just want to recap what has happened. Lord Justice Bean has ruled in the appeal courts today that even though the housing of migrants at the Bell Hotel in Epping is a breach of planning regulations, even though Epping Forest Council is right to bring the case, is right in terms of the law, is right and justified in its bringing forward of a planning enforcement notice, which is effectively what it's done. The reason is because the difference between a hotel and a hostel is a hotel is somewhere that can be publicly booked for short term. A hostel cannot be publicly booked and is for long term. Even though Epping Forest Council is right, nonetheless, the court threw out for now the claim saying...
Well, they've won the right to appeal.
That the rights of the migrants supersedes the rights of the people of Epping. The right of the Home Secretary to house people illegally who are illegally in the country is more important than planning. We have been warning, Asher and I have been warning about this for several years, that the Tony Blair reforms to our Constitution have created a scenario in which judges can ignore the law completely, can throw the law out. I say now that we need to abolish the Human Rights Act, we need to suspend the torture prohibition, we need to also, more importantly than all of them, is we need to abolish the Supreme Court. We need to bring back the law lords.
Depoliticise the judiciary.
And we need to allow a situation in which, when the law is broken, Parliament stands up for that law rather than judges arbitrating whether they believe that a law is right or a law is wrong. Lord Justice Bean, in his summation, conceded that what he was doing had no basis in law whatsoever. He just believed it was slightly more fair to allow the Home Office...
Which is not what the law's about. And by the way, they haven't won the case. They've won the right to appeal. And hopefully, I mean, I doubt it because it sounds like a fit-up job in the judiciary. But maybe, just maybe, it will lose in the actual hearing because they've only won the right to appeal, which has taken this, reverse this injunction, and they can keep using the Bell Hotel.
OK, and if... and what we've been told is if you win in Epping, then even though you're in the right, the risk is that other people will try and close migrant hotels in their community, which have illegally been turned into hostels. Okay.
Can I deal with that? Because the message for us to say mums don't care about their children is wrong because they do. I didn't say that. I said that the women were coming out. Obviously, they care about their children. No one was going to say mothers don't. I was talking about this is a reaction to when the men go out, they could get called far-right thugs and Nazis, and it's what's been happening in Russia for decades. The women go out because it's hard to accuse women of being far-right thugs, you know, especially when they're dressed in pink and behaving very well. And the only violence, which the judge went about, the violence in these protests were for the Antifa mobs.
Damn right.
That were actually walked down by the police. These are state-supported agitators by councils, a lottery fund, you know, what is it, the race, what's that called?
Commission for Racial Equality.
No, the group. Anyway, Stop the Hate or whatever it is.
Hope Not Hate.
Hope Not Hate, yeah. So this is all state-sponsored. And then they give them a lift back in what they call buses, but they're police vans. Anyway, we'll be back after the news in a couple of minutes. It's Andre and Ash on Talk.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, we did promise to give you Heather in Gavan, but before we do that, let me give you the number 0344 499 1000 on this important day, or the day after the important day, when our Constitution was brutally violated by Lord Justice Mr Bean. I've said that if ever I get any political power, if Asher gets any political power, then we will put down the Lord Justice Bean brackets abolition bill for him to be impeached, removed from the bench, removed from the bar, removed from the House of Lords for publicly admitting that he was ruling against Epping Forest, even though he knew they were legally in the right. So let's go to Heather in Gavan.
Well, Yvette Cooper has shown her true colours on this one, saying that the migrants have more rights than us, the people of our country. It is absolutely diabolical what this government is saying.
Absolutely. So Yvette Cooper says it's not her that said it, it's her lawyers saying it on her behalf, therefore it's not her fault.
Weasel words.
Well, she's a bull. Well, it's not a crap. She has said it.
Well, if the solicitors are representing you, then you have said it, yeah.
And technically, she's at fault here, and the whole government is now saying that the migrants have more rights than us, the UK people.
And the judge threw that out, actually.
That's why reform is 50.
Well, can I tell you, I was watching.
The Labour Party right now is through all this, and I could honestly say this. When I say, look at this country, robbing our kids' future of their chance of a job.
I was watching the interview with your mate Jeremy Dean, and what he said.
I see.
Yeah, so he defends murderers, and he said you have to understand it's not the job of the lawyer to decide who is guilty or innocent. I assist the court in making the right decision. So when
he defends people accused.
So when somebody comes along and says, Jeremy, can you say this in court? Jeremy will say it as best he can. That's the point about Yvette Cooper. This man is not, the lawyer is not saying, I believe this or I believe this. That is right, that is wrong. He is presenting the government's case, and the government's case is as follows. Epping Forest is right, but the rights of the illegal immigrants should supersede it. The Home Secretary's statutory right to house illegal aliens supersedes the right of the community to not want them there. Then also, he also argued, and this is a judge, not the lawyers, I don't think, but the judge also said, if these people are successful in shutting this hotel that's operating illegally, then they'll try and shut other hotels as well. That is Yvette Cooper's position, and it's just a fact. Heather?
Well, Yvette Cooper will never, ever going to shut these migrants' hotel in a month of Sundays, because I do not believe this government 100%. And Angela Eagle, I don't believe her either, because every single one of these Labour MPs have told but categorically lied to everybody, even to the voters.
I think even to themselves. I think even to themselves they lie. They know what they're doing is wrong, but they sort of convince themselves.
Saying, even to the lefty loonies, saying, "Hold on a minute, you don't have rights. It's the migrants have the rights."
I think there's also an argument here, and I'd love to get your opinion, Asher, before we go to Ray in Liverpool. Thank you so much, Heather, by the way, which is this. I was watching a bloke on the TV today, and he was an ex-army, an ex-soldier and an ex-police officer, and apparently he's quite well known in Yorkshire. He's set up this sort of Yorkshire protection thing. Doesn't matter whether you agree him, or doesn't matter if you know who he is. But here was the point he was making. He was saying, look, immigration has various different facets. People who move into working class communities are different to the people who move into upper and middle class communities. He said, when these people go, oh, immigration has done so much for Britain, they're talking about the surgeon that's moved in next door. But that's not the people that move to Burnley.
They don't get affected by it, do they? They get Ubers everywhere, they live in nice areas, they're not actually affected with it. But eventually, you know, people do get affected.
So what happens is the sort of people who sit in studios like this, though not this specific one, on, are people who, when immigration comes to their street, it comes in the form of nice middle-class couple from Bangalore who've come over.
Or people that will clean their house, or hairdressers, or nail people, so they just like that bit. It's all benefits them. It's all the same in America.
They never get the disbenefit that ordinary working-class people get. And I think that is grossly unfair to judge the whole thing because you go, oh, well, you know, I need an Estonian to clean my toilet. Oh, come on.
Well, of course it is, and it lowers the wages for the whole economy. Anyway, let's go Ray in Liverpool. Ray.
Oh, hi Andre. Hi Ash.
All right, man.
I reckon, do you know what I think? I think the Patriots need to change tactics, and I'll tell you why. Instead of, like, protesting at the hotel, we should protest at, like, you know, like the house outside the House of Commons or 10 Down Street. I think that would work. That would get the government listening, you know.
Well, I'll tell you what I would personally do. So I don't think you should protest at Parliament or Downing Street, but largely because Downing Street's not a public street. Well, sorry, it is a public street, but it's not a public building. Here's what you can do, and this is the bit that people forget. Right. Every member of Parliament has constituency surgeries, but also there's something called green carding. What is green carding? You know, you see those ferocious security on the door of Parliament, and they go, where are you going? What are you doing? Who's invited you? You can walk up to them, and trust me, if you don't believe me, try it. Go, I'm not visiting anyone. I've not been invited. And you say this, I would like to green card my MP. What that means is that you are undertaking your statutory legal right to go into the central lobby of the House of Commons and demand to see your MP to talk to them about something. Right now, they won't.
Does that actually work? If I go there tomorrow and go, I want a green card.
If you go there tomorrow and they say, what are you here for? You say, I'm here to green card my MP. They will say which MP it is. Come in.
Well,
you don't
we'll
need
have to test that out one
right?
day.
And I guarantee it'll work. The point is, Ray, what I would say is don't protest outside. Demand to see these toe rags and tell them you're not going to vote for them unless they help you out. Ray, your response?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just like, I just believe that it's not just the migrants that are fully to blame. It is our government that's fully to blame for this.
You can't blame the migrants for taking all the great. It is our government and the civil service.
Hey, if you offered me free dental care, free iPhone, free 4-star accommodation,
I'd go now after the show.
I mean, imagine tomorrow, right? Think of a country wealthier than Britain. Imagine Monaco.
Most countries now.
Imagine Monaco was offering the following. If you want to go to Monaco, we will move you into a 4-star hotel. We'll give you 3 meals a day. We'll give you money. We'll give you all your toiletries and whatever. We'll give you a brand new iPhone. And then 3 years later, we'll give you citizenship of Monaco. I'd be straight over there.
Tickets to the Grand Prix, nights out at the casino. Would you be up for that, Ray?
But the thing is, though, I just look at in America, they always protest at the White House, and I don't know. I just think we could do like something similar.
Well, there is the major Freedom Festival on the 13th of September. And I'm going to say to you that I'm not here to endorse any one individual, but I think I'm going to be out there interviewing people on the 13th of September at that big protest.
Hopefully, it will all be non-violent. There will probably be some agent provocateurs there, but you know.
Well, what the organisers have said is anyone who wears face masks or commits violence will be thrown out. Yeah. Now, I've got to say to you, I don't want. It's not my place to endorse a politician. It's not my place to endorse any particular activist. But I will say that is meant to be the big protest. Therefore, I think I'm going to have to go down and say hello to people, at least, aren't I? Are you going to go, Ray?
Well, I hope so. I hope I do.
What do you mean? Don't you know what you're going to do?
Well, I hope I will be. I hope I will be showing up.
But you're not sure what you will be doing.
There might be coaches going from various cities. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what happens. I'll tell you the reason I don't tend to go to protests. I think I'm not that interested, but B, I've got such a megaphone and an opportunity to speak. There's no point in going to a protest, is there? Yeah. But I will be there doing vox pops. We'll be talking to people on the street. Anyway, let's go. Thank you so much, Ray. Let's go to John. By the way, Ray is right. Speaking to your local member of Parliament is the way forward.
And he hopes he will be going.
OK, John is in Birmingham. John, you're on talk.
John!
Go on, John.
John!
Go on, John.
Yeah, am I right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Okay, yeah. I'm just calling about the average guy who goes out to work all his life.
Yeah.
And who's a taxpayer.
Yes.
And you see all this bull crap about the country with the political parties and all the rest.
Yeah. Is that it?
All eating from the same trough.
Yeah, pigs at the
They're
trough.
using politics as a...
Well, John, let me tell you what used to happen to me. I used to go on Good Morning Britain and Sky and the BBC and all this, and I'm not decrying those outlets, it's not their fault. But what would happen is I would debate a Labour MP or a lefty, and they'd turn round and they'd go, in the green room afterwards, they'd go, what you're saying is right, but obviously I can't admit that. When I was saying things like the working class is being hammered by uncontrolled immigration, they all agree with you. They all know you're right. And still, because their financial interest is in not admitting you're right, they keep going and destroying the country.
John.
Yeah, I totally agree with you in that respect, but at the same time, I think that the British people have let themselves down by the working classes have let themselves down.
Yeah, but don't you think now with all this flag raising, it's actually bustling back up? You know what I mean? That people are feeling their nationality. It's bringing in patriotism, isn't it? It's
absolutely.
It.
No, there's no patriotism regarding the young people nowadays.
Why do you think they're not patriotic?
Why do you think
I think it's because they don't have any opportunities. I mean, if you're not going to get a house, if you've been done over...
They've got no future, have they, John? That's the thing. What have they got to look forward to?
I totally agree, but they have to have the get up and go.
To change it round, yeah.
So, I think the British people have been let down on all sides with all parties.
That's John in Birmingham. Thanks, John. Let's go to Steve in 5. Steve.
Hi, how are you doing?
All right, man. What's going on, man?
Stop for a minute. Why did you do that?
Just like no one notices, do they? If you're fading down, Steve.
You can't do that, Asher. You can't do that.
Steve, no, because no one knows. It's like a segue on a music station, isn't it? Let's go to Steve in 5.
Hi, how you doing, boys?
All right, man. What's going on, man?
Oh my God!
Morning.
Listen, I've watched this argument for 4 or 5 years now, right?
Yeah.
And I want to ask, rather than have an opinion, I want to ask a basic question: is why are all these governments letting this happen? What is the agenda here?
I think it might be that WEF agenda. You will have nothing and be happy. That's where we're going.
I mean, let's be
over the world.
Let's be honest, Asher. In Essex, they look effing delighted, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, you'll have nothing and be happy.
Really.
Oh, look at them. They look pleased.
There is something going on. Yeah, go on.
Who's gaining from this? Apart from
the elites, the very rich elites and the corporates, the big corporations.
So why is this not being publicised?
Because they're in control of the media. Everything's been captured. That's why you've only got outlets like this and online and other places, very few places.
So now we're winning.
Well, it's changing, isn't it? It's turning round, I think.
We used to have a contributor called Philip Ullman who'd made an enormous amount of money off warehouses of various kinds, and basically what he did was he used to supply the staff for warehouses. And what he said when you bring cheap labour into the United Kingdom, on the face of it, it sounds good because corporations make more money, and you can get a home delivery firm, and all the home delivery firms are the same, by the way, to deliver you a comb for 50p, right? But what he says is what you forget is the in-work benefits, the housing benefits, the child benefit, the upheaval of families, the undermining of working class wages, throwing people on the scrap heap when they can't move as fast as perhaps somebody can who's 20. He said the cost of your cheap home deliveries is enormous, but you don't understand how expensive it is. Maybe we have to start saying to ourselves, you know what? Having a McDonald's delivered for 50p at 3 in the morning is not worth destroying our country for, because it's always the same, isn't it? When freedom's destroyed, you always get your little trinket. Oh, I'll tell you what you get. You get free home delivery on any item that you want the next day. But the cost of it is uncontrolled immigration, and your community collapses.
Can I interject, if I may? what you said was quite right. Within this, like getting home, your home delivery, and I see it. I live in a quite affluent area, right? My next door neighbour, and he's 16, 17-year-old, and he gets his home delivery delivered every day, and he's getting fatter and fatter, and he's getting all this, right? What stop it at source, right? Yes. It's so easy to stop at source, right? See the guys that are delivering from McDonald's, right? They're becoming they are on, it's illegal bikes. So it'd be quite easy for the police to go up there and
well,
say,
not all of them, but we've seen with Deliveroo a lot of these hotels.
So why don't the police Why
Ullman had. I'll tell you, Philip.
And this comes back to my question: Why are people? Why are they not doing this? Why are they not?
Okay, so Philip Ullman had a great idea. He said, first of all, we need to stop immigration. He was very, very anti-immigration. But the other thing he said, which I thought was a good point, was this. He said, look at the cost of this. What they do, all of these warehouses for pickers and packers are the same. They get 100 people through the door and they time them to see how quickly they move. And they go, we're going to have those 20 and the other 80 will stick on the social, right? No. When 100 come through the door, you have to employ the full 100. Now, OK, a 60-year-old moves less quickly than an 18-year-old, but that's your problem, not the taxpayer. What you can't do is pick out the best people at this job and then leave the taxpayer to pick up the bill for the rest. Now, if you do that combined with ending uncontrolled immigration, the cost of your Amazon delivery will increase and it may be slightly slower, but you will end the problem overnight because there will be no longer a need to suck people into the country. There'll be no ability to do it anyway.
You're missing. It's illegal immigration. It's illegal.
Is it? Because 1 million people came here legally.
Yeah, it's illegal. It's illegal,
here's
isn't
the point, right? I'm going to leave you one point, guys, right?
Yeah.
All you've got to do is go to your local McDonald's, right, and get the police to go there and watch them and turn up and say, that bike is illegal. And guess what? After the bike's illegal, guess what? They're illegal.
But the McDonald's aren't doing the deliveries, are they? That is other companies like Deliveroo and Uber
I'll tell you what,
it's not McDonald's that are doing that.
At this point, let's just be fair-minded with the delivery people because they have been in touch before. First of all, just to explain, because we made this mistake, and I'll hold my hands up, Domino's employ drivers, right, who are all vetted and whatever. So if you order from Domino's, then it is coming from Domino's. Right, and there are other pizza companies that are the same. McDonald's do not employ drivers, but you're getting it through Deliveroo.
I think so. That's how it works, isn't it?
Uber Eats or
and
whatever.
We've seen in the migrant hotels, they hide the bikes, so a lot of them are working and just borrowing other people.
To be fair to Uber Eats and to be fair to Deliveroo, and there are other delivery firms out there, they have started to address the problem of illegal migrants. But my response, before we go to the break, overall is this. Yes, there are illegal migrants. Yes, there are illegal migrants working in delivery. And yes, there are people whose vehicles are substandard doing deliveries. But there are also, last year, 1 million people who came to the UK entirely legally. And that is numerically the bigger problem. More next. Just to remind all of you that if you are watching on YouTube, please take a moment to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Andre JP Walker. That's where the really fruity stuff gets broadcast. Also, you can follow Asher Gould at Virtual Ash.
And him on Twitter at Andre JP Walker.
Right, let's go to Ken in London. Ken, you're on talk.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I would like to speak about the government.
Go for it.
Away you
Tory
go.
and Labour, our main government politicians. I believe that the government have totally failed to be honest with our nation regarding the threat of Islam against our democracy and free speech. I believe the government, because of fear, over many years, they have kept silent about this truth. It's been hidden. And if you'll allow me, I would just like to tell you what the agenda of Muhammad is and the agenda of the God of Islam. And the government are not telling the people the agenda of this religious political organization.
Go for it.
Muhammad's mission on earth is given in Hadith by Al-Bukhari, Volume 4, verses 196. This is his mission in life, given to him by his God. I'm quoting Muhammad now. I have been ordered by God to fight with the people till they say none has the right to be worshipped but Allah. That is Muhammad's mission and agenda in life, to force the people to submit to the God of Islam called Allah. That's his mission. Now, the agenda of the God of Islam is written in Surah 8, verses 12 and 17. This is the agenda of the God of Islam. He wants to empower Muslims to kill all infidels, all who refuse to convert to Islam. This is the words of the God of Islam. I will instill terror into the hearts of unbelievers. I will smite them above their necks. I will cut off their fingers' tips from them. It is not you who slew them, it was Allah.
Yeah, but most Muslims do not believe that, although there is a significant, minority that maybe do. I know some will say you convert or you can pay jizya, you can pay money, but, that's the thing in Christianity and Judaism. If you, literally look at the old Bible, they've developed and changed, and, that's happened with a lot of Muslims. But, yeah, you're right, there's some people who will follow the very strict version, which you don't really get that in Christianity or Judaism anymore.
This is what ISIS, Hamas, Boko Haram, all
I know. That's what I'm saying. There is a significant minority.
The significant minority comes to thousands and thousands of jihadists.
Well, 40,000 on the watch list of Prevent.
But the point I'm making here is the government has hidden this truth from the nation.
They hide it all the time. We saw with the rape gangs. We see with the migrant hotels. They try to hide where they are. We see it with the HMOs in Portsmouth. We see it everywhere. We know that,
Ken, in your opinion, and I think we need to start using this word, why is the establishment suffering from this Islamophilia? And what I mean by Islamophilia is this idea that whilst a Christian can say something wrong, no Muslim can ever say something wrong. This idea that our laws on taste and decency can be ignored by imams, that our laws on prevention of harassment and abuse can be ignored, the way that we are allowed to create tribal areas as long as it's a Muslim tribal area. I think there is a problem with Islamophilia in this country, and I don't understand what the reason is.
Well, it's for democratic sectarian voting, isn't it? That's what they were.
Is that the reason, Ken?
Well, that's part of it, but the main reason is fear of retaliation. There's fear of retaliation.
And cowardice. We saw with the teacher in Batley, didn't we? They're still, he's still in hiding.
Well, you see, the lie is from the politicians. Islam is a religion of peace. That is a lie. The Quran does not teach. I've just read to you the mission of Muhammad and the mission of the God of Islam. They are a religion of the sword.
Yes, but they are. But to be fair, Ken, they are talking about killing non-believers, and they don't include you in that list.
course they do. I'm a non-believer.
Yeah, they do.
No. They consider Islam to be a development of both Christianity and Judaism. They think that Jesus is an Islamic prophet.
No, they don't. No, they don't, Andre. You don't know the Bible, my friend. I respect you, but you don't know what you're talking about a lot of times. They have nothing to do with Christianity. The God of the Bible, the God of the New Testament, the Messiah, the Son of God is mocked by Islam. The greatest sin that anyone can commit on earth is to relate Jesus as the Son of God. That is shirk.
What about Ken? Ken, I sent you, so we've now exchanged phone numbers, Ken, and I do very much look forward to buying you a drink for your 80th birthday. But I sent you a video earlier today from my YouTube channel which questioned the following. Why is the King of the United Kingdom, King Charles, why did he study Arabic and become the patron of the Oxford Mosque, when in fact his job is to be defender of the faith? He should be standing up for Christianity.
The King of England is driven by Satan. He is an advocate for Satan. He is supposed to be the
strong allegation
of the faith. That is the Protestant religious faith of the Church of England. He is a traitor. He has now surrendered also to Islam.
I mean, I have to say to you, if you were somebody who could speak English and French, and then you were going to become the defender of the faith, you would learn ancient Hebrew or Aramaic in order to better understand the Bible. Learning Arabic and the Quran is an odd choice. Now, look, if I want to learn the Quran, that's fine. If Ken wants to learn the Quran, that's fine. But he is literally the head of the Church of England.
Yeah, defender of the faith.
You're spot on there. That is a good point to make, Andre. But listen, here is the main point here. What we see developing in the world, the Western world, all over the world, is all prophesied in Scripture. I want to encourage everyone here to read the Bible for yourself. Go on to Google tonight. Everyone who's listening, go on to Google and ask this question. What is born again? Ask the question.
Okay, Ken, you've made this point before, and I do want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question quickly. So, Grace and I have a fundamental disagreement. Grace being the other brilliant Christian caller that we get. I say to her that actually, so she says, oh, Britain isn't really a Christian country. Yeah, officially it is, but very few people love Jesus and whatever. And I accept that. But I think that Christianity is coming back in this country in a big way. Are you pessimistic or optimistic?
From what I hear, there are certainly signs of some revival, but we have to be careful here. There are lots of people who believe in Jesus, but they're not born again. Right. Unless a person is born of the Holy Spirit, unless they repent of their sins to God personally, unless they believe personally that Jesus died for their sins and rose from the dead, and they confess Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, they are not a genuine Christian. And you, Andre, and I love you, my friend, and Ash, but you are not yet a genuine Christian, Andre. You're not born again. And Jesus said, unless a man is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. I'm saying this in love. I'm not judging.
I get that. Also, I want to be clear on something to those people who've got in touch. Ken from London did not say what people suggested he said. He merely said of James Whale, I hope he repented before he died. He did not make any suggestion of anything else, and I think that's important. Ken, that's right, isn't it?
That's true. I don't know where James Whale is. James Whale, before he died, if he truly said, Jesus, forgive me, I'm a sinner, if he really meant it, and he believed in Jesus as the Son of God and he died for his sins and rose from the dead, James Whale is now in heaven. But if he didn't do that, then the Bible says he'll be in hell. But I don't know. I hope he's in heaven.
OK, that's absolutely right. It's important to understand because there is a nuance there. Ken did not say that James Whale was going to hell. He did not say that. OK, we're going to be back. Thank you so much, Ken in London. We're going to be back after the break with Chris in Epsom.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Chris is in Epsom. Chris, you're on Talk.
Andre, we've never spoken before. Ash, we have spoken a couple of times before.
I remember, yeah.
But first of all, love and best wishes to James's wife and family and friends.
Thanks, man.
One of the Daintree boys.
Because he was from Epsom, wasn't he? From around there. Well, Ewell Village. Yeah, Ewell, that's where he was born.
I knew James when he had his TV show. A couple of times I went to the little Italian restaurant off St Martin's Lane with him. He was a great guy.
Is that restaurant that he owned still in Ewell?
No, that's in Harrogate.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
You're talking about Giovanni's, aren't you? Giovanni's, I know that, yeah.
Yeah. When they do the coffee trick.
Yeah, I've had that done on me. Yeah, they come with a fake. I won't do it. It's a spoiler alert. But they come with a fake cappuccino, and when you order, and then they pretend to spill it, and it's a fake cappuccino. Cheeky, pesky.
Well, let me tell you, I'm going to Ewell West tomorrow to visit my mate. I'll pop in to the James Whale restaurant.
It's in Harrogate. And the other one's in Soho.
Andre, you can pop in and see me, mate, if you get the producers to get... I'm in West Ewell.
Will you make him an Italian dish, and what would you make him?
Hey, whatever he wanted. I like Andre, and I like you, Ash. Listen, I've got some... I want to... what a week, right? But I want to unpack today.
Go for it.
Right, because there's a lot of rubbish that's been said.
Yes.
And also, let me get right the way to the end, and I say that's it.
Perfect. Do it.
We'll listen out, yeah.
I'm going to blow your minds.
Away you go.
Right, first of all, the Conservative Council at Epping were absolutely useless. They sat on paperwork. They should have put in paperwork to stop the hotel. They had at least 3 opportunities to stop it. They were lax in their duty towards the stopping of that hotel. The first judge was wrong. He should never have given that temporary injunction.
Okay.
Because
the High Court judge? The High Court judge.
Yep, the High Court judge. Because they didn't have their paperwork in line. And that was an emotional judgment from him. Now, when it went to the appeal today, it was all about the planning, because they hadn't objected to the planning in the time frame they should have done. Now, when the judge, Bean, all right, in his summing up, and I've listened to his summing up 4 times, when he talks about, first of all, the government could have won that case just on the planning law. There was no need for their mouthpiece to say what he did.
Yep.
The judge said it's got nothing to do with it. The Epping Council didn't put forward any evidence of criminality that the judge could take into account. All he had to do, all he had to work with, was what they gave. All right? But in saying that, he is a judge that was one of the founding members of the Matrix Chambers, with Felipe Sands, who's the KC counsel for the Mauritius Islands, who's the best mate of Keir Starmer, and Lord Hermer, and Sherry Blair. Yeah. Right? Now, you've got to think deep into this. This is really 3-level chess, all right? So that mouthpiece did not need to say that the immigrants have more right than the people in Epping. That was not needed. They could have won that just on planning. That was.
But how do you know this? Because I've watched Stephen Barrett today, and also another guy, the bald barrister. I watch him on you. They've both said the decision of the High Court judge was correct, and it was very rude what they said at the appeal. Well, it's not the appeal, the right to appeal. They were wrong, and these are very respected barristers.
Let me stop both of you for a second. I think it is important to bear in mind that, Chris, what you are doing is giving the argument of the judge that we say has behaved badly. You are regurgitating his comments.
Hang on a sec. Let me give you a bit of my background. All right, I had a business in Abu Dhabi. I am a member of the Al-Amri tribe, right, which is the biggest tribe in the whole of Arabia.
Right.
My girlfriend is an Eastern European Muslim.
Right.
But I want all of the illegals and the legals that have overstayed out.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, don't just. I've got.
Well, no, I agree with you. There's loads of people from the Muslim community who don't want this going on. You know, we know that.
Now, let me finish unpacking.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah, he hasn't said that's it yet.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Sorry.
Ash. Now, the judge today said that he couldn't take into account the criminality because the council didn't put anything forward about the criminality. They only went forward on the planning.
Yeah, but he also said it would incite future, disturbances.
No,
That's nothing to do with the law, what he's bringing in there.
Let me finish.
Sorry, he hasn't said that's it. Yeah, sorry.
That's the problem. He acted completely within the law and with what was presented for him. But he didn't need to say that it could spark civil unrest in other areas and all the rest of it. That was a plant. That was the plant from his friends, not the judgment. That saying was the plant from his friends. Because he'd already disregarded the statement from the mouthpiece of the Home Office that immigrants had more right than the people in Epping.
Yeah, they said the hierarchy of people's rights is vulgar or something like that.
Hang on, Ash.
Sorry, I've done it again, yeah.
What Starmer and Cooper are doing, all right, and their international lawyer friends, they're stoking the fire. And we've got to take the fire out of it. Because you know what they want to do? They want people to get really, really angry and kick off. Because of September the 13th, which Andre mentioned earlier. They are absolutely shit scared of people coming out without masks, having a family day, and telling the government, this is not what we want. And this was done today to try and raise up people so that they can bring in some sort of legislation that says gatherings can't be done, take away the right to peaceful gatherings because we can't guarantee they're going to be peaceful.
So, Chris,
they already did that in Canary Wharf, didn't they, at the hotels?
So, Chris, let me ask you this question. So, first of all, I think there's a lot of what you've said is right. I've got to be honest with you. I don't care about the legality of the hotel planning, as most of us don't. What we care about is the morality of bringing people to the country illegally and allowing them to stay in 4-star hotels. But I have to say, this is something that I'm increasingly nervous about, the way that people are deliberately stoking up arguments. I worry very greatly about Muslim friends of mine. And I'll tell you why. Because I say so many things that sound on the face of it like I've got a downer on individual decent Muslim people. And I worry about that. I genuinely worry about that. But I think you're right. I think the concern is that this guy lobs in this grenade, whether he's right or wrong on the planning issue, he lobs in this grenade which says, I don't care what the law is, I care about my own political opinions and the political opinions of my chums. That's what Lord Justice Bean said, and ultimately that is going to cause chaos. But the fact that you believe that they're trying to bring in legislation to ban protests, I have to say, I have very little respect or time for the British government anymore. I would never have believed that they'd do that 10 years ago. I believe they would do that now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Look, I'm 64 years old, right?
Happy birthday, by the way. Yeah.
Sorry?
Happy birthday.
Listen, right, I'm going to be there on September the 13th, and I will help. So if I see anybody with a mask, I'll be taking it off of them.
But hang on a second. If you're from an Arabic tribe, Chris, are you a Muslim?
No. I had a business with His Excellency Sheikh Raqad bin Raqad Al-Alman Al-Amri, who was the head of the Al-Amri tribe, who the British government went to as the speaker and the arbitrator of stuff in Arabia. He was the president of OPEC.
By the way, he's not that geezer that's been on social media saying that the West is letting radical Muslims into their country.
No. Unfortunately, Raqad had a heart attack several years ago.
Oh, okay, sorry. Apologies.
He's still alive, but they brought him back but he was brain damaged, so he's in a positive, a permanent vegetative state, and he was a lovely guy. When I went over there to do business in Abu Dhabi, I was introduced to him by an English friend of mine that knew him as a friend, and Rahad said to me, the only way this will work, and you will be able to talk to the most important people in the country, is if you're a part of our tribe, the Al Amri tribe. I said, but I'm a Christian. He said, no, that's fine. He said, but as long as you take on the responsibilities of being a member of the Al Amri tribe. In other words, as long as I didn't let them down.
Yes.
And I never did. The thing is that if you go out to the Middle East, right, they would not stand for what we're doing now.
No, that's right.
The biggest walls in Palestine are in Egypt and Jordan to stop.
You've got to remember one thing, Chris. We are allowing radical Muslims like Abu Hamza and Anjam Chowdhury to run amok. In these countries in the Middle East, they know what these wankers are guilty of and what they're capable of.
Do you know Anjam Chowdhury?
Oh, come on, that's fair comment.
It is a bit. I bet you didn't know, right? Shamim Bahima, whatever her name is.
Shamima Begum.
Yeah, there you go. Her father was a close follower of Anjam Chowdhury in Luton. And was
we had him on the show. We had him as a guest, Anjam Chowdhury.
Did you offer him a cider? Because that's what he used to drink at Southampton University.
No.
Uncle Anjam.
The whole family should be kicked out. Right? Absolutely. Never mind.
They are actually British.
That's right. This is what people forget, that there are plenty of these terrorists, Jihadi John, Shamima Begum being some of them, who follow in the family tradition of radical Looney Islam.
Yeah, or are supported.
Listen, this is a real frightening thing, right? This is the real frightener. 80% of young Muslims in this country believe this country should be run under Sharia law.
Is it that high? I know it was quite high. I don't know it was 80%. Are you sure?
Right, it's up to 80%. Because
I know there were some stats. I'm not sure that's right, but it was significant amount. I think it was the Henry Jackson Society.
Okay, Chris, thank you so much. What I will say is that it's inevitable. If there is a project to change the country, then everybody's gonna stake their claim, aren't they?
I mean, it is true to say that people who moved to this country and did blend in with the culture and everything, sometimes their next generation, you expect them to be even more like that, have actually reacted and are actually. It's like, English people, Protestants in Northern Ireland are almost more British because they're, you know what I mean? It's that sort of thing. Anyway, have we got a little break here? Little break, and then we're going to come back. We've got Sharon Ann, Chris, Wayne, Yasmin, Mark, Bondi in South Wales. Not New South Wales, Old South Wales. Back in a couple of minutes.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, well, this is coming to the end of the show tonight, but let's go to Sharon in County Durham. Sharon, you're on Talk.
Oh, hello. I love both you and Ash. I forgot my train of thoughts because I was busy listening to Chris.
It's all right. Calm down. You'll be all right.
Oh, I know. First time I've ever been on the TV
Don't worry
and
about
radio.
it. There's only thousands of people looking at you right now. Listening.
Millions.
Well, they can't see me though, can they?
No,
yeah,
they can't.
we can see you. Did you not know?
Why? What you're wearing?
Yeah. Put it on. Yeah, put your dressing gown on.
Anyways, I'd forgot my train of thoughts, but I was going to go back to, the illegal immigration.
Yes.
Basically, I'm half Papua New Guinean. So my dad was British, and so I was born with a British passport near enough. And my mum was from Papua New Guinea. Now, we immigrated over here. I mean, I'm 48 now. We immigrated over here when I was 12. And the things that my mum had to go through and my dad had to go through just to get her into this country. And she was a nurse.
So that was in the 80s, was it?
It was the late 90s.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So Tony Blair time, yeah.
Yeah, so it was just before Tony Blair got in.
John Major.
And,
No, you were 12 in 1995, weren't you? Something like that.
No, I was born in 1976, so, yeah. So I was born in 1976, so it would have been, 1989, sorry,
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
you're
sorry.
right.
Great year,
Yeah.
great year.
So it would have been 1990 when we'd moved over. Now...
So it was still Thatcher, actually, when you came over.
Oh, what? Right, okay. So it's been that long ago.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Anyway, so the loopholes and everything that my mum and dad had to go through just to get her into this country, and although she's a nurse, she was bringing, skills into this country. It just knocks me sick.
This is why Muslim people from Pakistan, people from Bangladesh, and that's principally where they are, where the Muslim population in the UK is from. That's why they get so angry that, ultimately a lot of the migrant jobs, are going to be undermined. A lot of the access to services will be undermined. A lot of overcrowding will be caused. To suggest that this is a white versus black issue, I think is unfair.
Yeah.
Exactly, because as I said, I'm half white, half black. I've got a lot of black family that have moved from Papua New Guinea. They've immigrated to Australia. They've all got good jobs. I mean, some of them are rugby players. They've been professional rugby players, and they're absolutely
the big lads in Papua New Guinea, aren't they?
Oh, God, yeah. But they're absolutely outraged. And, there's a certain person on X, we all know who she is, and she keeps going on about all this crap, and it's like, no,
You mean the race baiting lady?
Oh, Navinda Kaur.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, she's a loony.
I can't stand her, and I've told her she's like, I see you next Tuesday a few times, and I'm surprised she hasn't blocked me. But it's like, what am I trying to say is just.
It's unfair. It's unfair.
Yeah, thank you. It's unfair. My mum put a lot into this country, like all legal migrants do, but they've come with skills.
Yeah,
and they've contributed, and they've net contributors.
Because what
we need.
This is the bit of the story, Sharon, that people forget. The reason why they're swimming over on boats is because they can't get a visa because they're ineligible,
and
nothing to contribute.
Yeah.
That's correct.
They're coming over for a different reason as well, and it just boils me,
Boils your urine. Anyway, Sharon, thank you so much. We're getting to the end of the show. That's the only reason we've cut you off early, because we did say that we were going to let Sharon, Yasmin the Teenage Witch. Come on, Yasmin, how are you?
Hiya, darlings.
Hello.
Hi, morning.
I just want to correct something that Ken said earlier about Jesus, Yeshua. He needs to read in the Quran, Surah Maryam 27 to 30, because Jesus spoke to Allah, and also he said, "Peace be upon you," to his disciples, which in that language was Assalamu alaikum. Also, Allah is the name of God in the Quran. So
well, Allah's just Arabic for God. I mean, if you're an Arabic Christian, you call God Allah. If you're, whatever.
That is
it's
true.
just Arabic.
Any Arabs do. Any Arab.
Yeah, it's the word for God. Yeah.
Even if he's speaking Aramaic, he would still use that term.
Is that right? I don't speak Aramaic.
No, Jesus used Aramaic. He spoke Aramaic.
Yes.
You know that because you know about religion, don't you?
I made this point earlier.
Well, about Hebrew, actually.
I made this point earlier about
Hebrews, where he spoke the Aramaic dialect,
right?
And he was like, he was brought up in Nazareth, and that's in Palestine. So he knows all that area. He walked all over that area.
What the criticism of Islam is that they've taken the Torah and the New Testament and basically the criticism, and I'm not saying I believe this, a medieval warlord used it in order to spread his own version of religion in order to further his own conquest. That is the allegation. But there is no suggestion that Islam is not grounded in Judaism and Christianity. No,
exactly.
as far as
Abrahamic religions, yeah.
And the other thing I'll say, there's a lot more moderate Muslims in this country
than we give them credit for.
Any problems? They don't want any problems. They don't want any issues.
But what happens, Yasmin? What happens if I am a moderate Muslim and I say, I do not believe in violence, I do not believe in hatred, I do not believe in evil. However, I do believe Britain would be better if it was a Muslim country. Therefore, I'm going to dedicate my life to trying to make that happen.
First of all, you're not supposed to proselytise Muslim religion at all. That's the first thing. The other thing is,
I find that hard to believe.
I was brought up in England in the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you about the British people. They're the most caring, fair-minded people in the world. I was brought up in children's home where people put money in little envelopes and help me live and grow up in this country. Yeah. And they haven't got any beef with anybody, really. No. But what they don't like is when their vets are on the streets, there's homeless women and children in poverty in this country.
We believe in fair play. That's, that's basically it, isn't it? Yeah.
And that's what's kept Britain great, because we've always believed in that. But what we're getting now is an inrush because the elites believe they want to control the whole of Europe.
Yes.
They want it all, in fact, the whole world. They want all the world mixed up. And what they're not realising is, causing this stress in this country, it's going to explode.
Do you know, Jasmine, can I say something else? Because I know that you're very interested in things like culture, spiritualism, all this sort of thing. I think that it is a wonderful thing that when you go to Italy, it's different to London. And I think it's a wonderful thing that when you go to London, it's different to Istanbul. And I think it's wonderful that Istanbul is different to Lahore. I fundamentally do not want to live in a world where everything's the same. And by the way, we have had an experience of that. Because in the old days, when I was a little boy, each individual shopping area used to have their own independent shops. Now, wherever you go, there's a branch of Next, there's a branch of
Exactly, and it's the opposite.
And it's boring.
Diversity causes everywhere to be the same. If you go to Tokyo, you want it to be like Tokyo.
Yeah.
But if you have all diversity and everywhere becomes the same, so ironically, diversity ruins the individual different places.
Correct.
What they're doing is trying to break Europe, so that when the Europe leaders all got broken money-wise and whatever, it's create one national army, a European Union.
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to do.
It's a communist plot.
And I'm telling you, I feel he's going to leave Keir Starmer and Lammy's going to resign. That's what I've seen. But I will tell you this, and it's very, very important. They're using a divide and conquer at the moment, and we're still not looking at what laws they're bringing in and what protests are stopping. They're putting people in prison for bloody tweets. Sorry for swearing.
No, go for
it. For tweets. And the fact is, everybody who hasn't done a violent crime shouldn't be in prison, in my opinion. Any foreigners that have committed crimes should be sent back to wherever. And I genuinely
after they've served their prison sentence.
No, I think they should just go.
So they just get away with it.
No, just go back to their own countries, and their own countries will deal with it.
Yeah, well, they won't know, will they?
Listen.
We could have deals like that.
Well, yeah, they'll say they will.
Listen, what I'm trying to say is this. They're putting decent people in prison for having an opinion.
They're criminalising decent people.
Yeah, but not only that, they're using the social credit system, because now they're saying they're going to, if you do commit a crime, not only will you face the law, but then you'll be banned from football matches, from pubs, from driving. I mean, pubs and going to football matches, that's just the worst.